Oh, Phoebe. Phoebe, 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 Phoebe.
She's upset because she didn't get any salmon skin.
Oh no. Mishka. Jeepers Feepers. Alright, let's see.
I gave her some, but Luna dove in and snatched it from her.
Luna. Why'd you do, huh, puppy?
I made $6 today. Woohoo. And I only had 3 offers, so it's like, well, either super slow because of the weather or just DoorDash crashed, which is also possible. Oh, dude, that is loud. My goodness. Hi, Luna. How you doing? We're starting the stream here, puppy. Alright, everybody, I am here. We're doing more Mega Man co-op, I guess, tonight. So,
Yep.
Not especially short because I was trying to work today. Pretty much nothing going on, though. Probably tropical storm thing going on, keeping everyone away. It happens. And it was flooded roads. It's like tons of rain and storms and internet getting knocked out. So
Crazy town.
yeah, that's just what it is. All right, so
Oop,
last time we met Dr. Regal, Mr. Edgelord, evil. I'm evil, so evil, dude. Apparently, Edgelord is banned on Twitch. Like, why? It's quite literally a description of like certain types of characters. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Shadow. There's a Shadow game coming out. You're gonna ban Edgelord when Shadow is coming out? Like, how are people supposed to define the character?
We need to start using the Japanese term instead. Chunibyo.
It's like I said. Okay, Mega Man, you gonna start? It's like I said last night, but there it goes. Somebody was like, Dr. Regal is like Shadow the Hedgehog combined with Infinite, except those two are better written. It's just
I mean, this Dr. Regal is not being written by whoever the heck was behind Battle Network 4, so we'll have something, maybe.
I mean, both of them are pretty... 5 is just hilariously just what? No, this so evil. He's Dr. Betty. Well, not Dr. Betty. Betty is like more evil than he is. It's like, come on, dude.
Let me in, thank you.
Dr. Betty sounds definitely like something.
Alright, so, I guess we did talk. Did we do talking? Guess not. Kitty! Robot kitty cat.
Bastion understands.
These guys are
giant coiner.
4, I think.
Giant coiner is hard to talk to. Oh. Why is Giga Kawagata, I guess, around? Zoop, zoop, zippity zap.
Alright, I'd better pause this so,
Cerberus Man has a vendetta against Bastion? What?
Because he is a cat!
Bastion's like my cousin literally is like a Cerberus, and we just fed a Cerberus guy, so... Cerberus Man is only put him.
Let's see, can I put up Melvor Idol while also keeping tabs on Fox's chat? Maybe. Okay, well that looks jank as heck, but yeah, that'll work. Gotta keep an eye on Melvor in case I run out of thieving gloves. You need to switch.
Hey, speaking of Edgelord.
Ah, the night. Could there be anything better than the darkness itself? The shadows dancing around every corner? Despite using technology, even being it, part of me will always be fond of where it all started. I believe there's even some simulations about it here at the tournament. Try some for me, won't you?
Are you flirting?
Alright, it's tier 6, baby.
I didn't want to go to the parking lot. No, I wanted to go to the... Try to hit the bar up. Oh, Napalm Man's here.
Stoneman got me hooked on his boxing movies. Slip the jab! These hands are lethal weapons! Literally, your face will explode if I punch it.
Yes, we know. Anything
Crash Man. Ah, fancy meeting you here, Bastion.
Wait, you're Doc Robot? But how does that make any sense? Is there combat data loaded in you?
Where I am right now isn't important. Really, I'm just here to pawn off some interesting items that I found. I've come into the possession of certain artifacts. Each is imbued with the essence of one of the tournament's simulations. With their power, I've crafted the parallel weapons, special costumes for each of the weapons in your arsenal. I will warn you, some of these artifacts may have the power of robot masters you haven't met yet. That being said, would you like to take a look? I don't plan on going anywhere, so if you change your mind, you know where to find me.
Yay! Boss! Stuff. Yeah, we already heard from you before. How many?
39? Crazy town. Hey, these guys are new. Aren't these both Darkman? I was lucky enough to be hired as a bodyguard for Mr. Will. No one will escape my sightlines as I encroach on them in the darkness.
Wait, Ernest hired you as a sniper? I think we already talked to these guys. I love the fact that he thought he needed a sniper in the first place.
I don't remember talking to them. What? No, of course not. I just shoot my freezing donut rings at ruffians so authorities can take care of things. This right here is just a t-shirt cannon.
Yeah, because he's going to talk about mowing the yard and spraying weed killer with his cannons.
It's not easy finding a gig to do when you're a miniature tank, but I think I finally found one. I used my treads to... Oh, yeah, okay. But wait, when did we talk to...
Maybe we did it last time? I don't know. Or they were here at one of the earlier tiers, maybe, because it seems to be random.
I don't remember that.
I remember that. Oh, look, it's... Who the heck are you?
That's Element Man from Battle Network 6. Oh no, not just a Goblin King, but the living doorstop himself, too. Look, do you mind getting this guy off my case? If you do, I'll deliver an authentic Presto t-shirt to your front door in person. I got my #1 fan to do it, at least.
I know Presto is annoying, but you don't need to keep mooning him, Susie. Oh no.
It's the man who speaks in hands!
I like how Dr. Light and Dr. Wily both like turned to look when the dude started talking. Like we need to, I think we need to fix that robot. The cryo lab. Fine pine? What?
Alright. Welcome to the Winter Laboratory. Another gauntlet, unfortunately. Why do I not sound very enthused? Well, our lab isn't exactly meant to be a tourist attraction. Idiot Ernest Will basically bought the lab out for use at a tournament, so we have to deal with that now. Just don't bother us researchers, okay? Then we'll be fine. I'll try to ignore you as best I can. Frenzy Reactor by the man of multimedia. Hi, I'm Troy McClure, and welcome to Frenzy Reactor. You may remember me from Silva Gunner Returns and Finding Jake Paul. People and robots said we were crazy when he made a power plant that uses geo and thermal solar energy under a volcanic jewel mine. Well, look at us now! Also, Bastion, if you were watching this, we are under a hostile corporate takeover by Dr. Wiley. Misspelled corporate. Seriously though, he has one of his robots holding me hostage. Help! Lag, please. Uh-huh. Meme! What is with everybody spelling out meme with the tanks?
I don't know. I have no idea. It must be a meme.
Hey, Wiggy Gaga!
Oh yeah, that reminds me. The new Mario and Luigi game is apparently made by people who made the previous games.
Huh.
So they now work for Nintendo, I guess.
Okay.
They were like third party before, weren't they?
Alpha Dream? I have no idea. Like, literally the only games of theirs I am aware of are the Mario and Luigi series. Here's Sparkman. Ugh.
Oh, you can go under those. I had no idea. Oops,
Nice.
I didn't know he was gonna drop health. Just Susie going backwards to the door. Ah, mosquito in my mouth. Ah. The mosquitoes here are so awful that you go outside, you can't even see.
Wow!
Wow!
Congrats on finding a second secret room. Did you find the first one? Anyway, this level would not be possible if it wasn't for the amazing community in the official MaGMML3 Discord. Thanks for your help and encouragement.
MaGMML3? I don't know what that game is.
It's make a Mega Man level. It doesn't necessarily have to be good. Oh no, the crystal spell.
Hi, sweetie.
Spells LOL.
Thanks. Sweetie showed up to say hi by stepping on the controller right when I was trying to...
Sweetie. You're such a kitty. Come on, get down. Thank you.
Ow. Not exactly a hard level, but
That's... yeah, it could be over. Nope, it's probably not over. Also, Pi Centaur Man. Really? Double health Centaur Man? Isn't this the boss battle theme from Mega Man 2 Game Boy?
I don't know.
It sure sounds like it. Also, this is kind of a gross boss fight. Ah.
Is there some reason he has to have so much health? Why does he have so much health?
Just use his weakness. I have no idea what his weakness is. But use it! Also, by the way, flashing lights warning, I guess. Let's see, I want to know if we have the Chapeau Noir. We don't. I got raw herrings.
Ow!
Cool, I
Sweetie,
guess.
please. Okay.
He kind of needs to be hanging out in the middle of the screen, but like, what if he's also hanging out in the middle of the screen?
That's the problem, is he's been doing that, like that. God, he is not a good boss whatsoever. I hate like the bosses that just freeze time like that, because it's like really hard to avoid them. It doesn't help when he has like way too much freaking health. Is that really not it?
That's really not
Why?
it.
Oh, that is awful, dude. Why would you even do that?
I mean, there's a reason this level is only in tier 6. Also, can't you stand on the cannon of that thing?
I don't think so.
I remember doing it before. Ow.
Like, is there some reason this level needs to be this long and have that many bosses in it? Ah! I almost say next we get that thing that gives us energy with, like, health if we're full of weapon energy.
Okay.
Just because it's more convenient for 2 players. That way we can keep refilling health and keep playing.
Okay.
Whoa! Okay.
And after that, I wanna get the boss weakness detector. Ow, butter.
I got lagged. Oh.
Hi, Proto Man. What do you want? Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Get him! Solar Man! Why?
This is kind of an awful place to be fighting him.
Just use the water shield on him. Or something. Or, like, it's gotta be either the ice wall or the water shield he's weak to.
Probably, but it's like, we're already through the level with Buster only, may as well just...
And you're not gonna get scored for it because we're playing co-op.
I mean, I think we might still get scored for it. I don't know. What? What? What?
I don't know, like his son is catching your Buster shots for some reason. You know, he's not holding it in front of him. Did that even get sent to the leaderboards at all?
I don't know. Not logged in. What do you mean? Apparently not. Well, how am I not logged in? Eh? Okay. Hold on. That's not right. Whoa! I really
Is it
have to,
because
like,
you updated the program?
maybe. Ah! Something's not right here.
Okay.
Yeah, something's not right here. I think they're not working right now.
Mm.
Maybe? Oh no. My thing is there. What the? Ah! Ah! What is going on?
I don't know.
Stop! What is going on? There is no update. I can't reach the leaderboards? What is going on with this thing? Something is not right here. Like, what is going on? I think the update is broken. Hold on, you might have to rejoin.
Okay.
I definitely think that something's up. I'm gonna quit dinging the bell, for fuck's sake.
Alright, I'm gonna go get myself some pretzels or something while you're figuring this out.
Yeah, because something's not right here. Luna, I am not doing anything for you right now. Cut the crap. Oh, there is an update. Maybe that's what's going on. Okay. Hold on. Shut up, Windows Defender. Just waiting for the game to restart. There we go. There we go. Should be working better now. Quick, keep in my hand. Wait, this wheel canine to get back.
Check it out, I'm back!
Alrighty. There was an update apparently, so
Okay.
even though it's like a newer version of 1.031 or something, I don't know.
Okay, are you logged into the leader?
It's logged in.
Okay. I need to... Oh, I don't have my... could you, like, nudge the game window a bit to the left? Like... 50 more pixels?
Like that, or?
Hang on, I can... Well, the whole thing is on screen, so I can adjust this on my end. Let's see here. Alright, that works. Legs. I said legs, go.
Legs, arms, feet, you want it, we got it. And
Still can't control it with my controller. Oh, that is definitely visual aesthetic. I'm strongly reminded of Sonic 3's Lava Reef with a bit of a mechanical flair. It's interesting enough, but it doesn't make up for the lackluster level design. Frenzy Reactor has a strong variety of enemies with a good 12 different types. Unfortunately, the only ones to see interesting use are Diarns, Tackle-Fires, and Electives. All of which is owed to the final conveyor belt section before the end boss. Every other enemy is either just a one-time thing, or just basic obstacles to blow up. Considering the gimmick selection is barely used fire bars and typical conveyor belts, that's not great for the design score. It's not unplayable or broken, which is a good start, but more innovation that just hears an enemy to shoot would just be simply delightful. There's also 3 bosses. Sparkman is fine, but the other two have way more health than necessary. Solar Man gets some points for using a conveyor belts in a fight, making him slightly more memorable than normal, but then Centaur Man's music is genuinely terrible, forcing it to turn down the volume. I know it's an official song, but that doesn't change that the instrumentation is ear-piercing. As a whole, I can't say I'm impressed. I was not bothered by the music. It's just an odd choice of music instead of, like, RushJet 1's remix of it. Or something. The stage really doesn't have much to it, unfortunately. Aside from an interesting combination of tiles, that is. As far as everything else goes, though, to begin, the level design here is very basic. Even with conveyor belts and fire pits, the room layouts still pose little, if any, threat. Same goes for the enemies, most of which are directly in your way with nothing else adding to their encounters, making them very easy to dispose of. I'll pay special mention to the use of the last two Aleka enemies of the level, though. The way they're set up to have their initial attack move along with the conveyor belts is pretty interesting, and I kind of wish it was used more often throughout the level. It probably would have at least made things a bit more challenging if used right. Probably the only time we'll ever be in danger of dying here is during the Centaur Man and Solar Man fights, and that's only because they've given double health bars and immunity to everything but the Buster and one other weapon which serves as their weakness. I can understand wanting to bump up the difficulty for these bosses, but all this really amounts to is making their fights take slightly longer. Aside from that, the only other thing to note here is the look of the level itself. I wouldn't call it outright messy looking. Where am I? There. I wouldn't say all these tiles mesh well either. Some parts look alright, such as those that focus more on Crystal Man and Wave Man's tiles, while others range from odd to even a bit distracting. Bright Man's floor tiles in particular were really out of place here. Still, I can at least appreciate the effort that went into trying to find a mixture of different tiles to fit with the level's scene. The level itself could definitely use some touch-ups, though. Is that the bottom? Yeah. We're in a bit of a pickle! Well, it's a somewhat amateurish level for sure. Not really a whole lot going on in terms of layout design or synergy with the enemies with the environment. Synergy with the enemies with the environment. Sure, Patchy. Mets and Joes are just there on a whole bunch of flat surfaces. The only real remarkable thing about it is the boss gauntlet, and even then, I'm usually not a fan of entries centered around boss fights. Sparkman fight is kind of a joke with his arena and low aggression level. Centaur Man is basically the same, but 2 health bars because ... A review by Axeman, 13 years old. And has a poor background fashion sense for his arena. 0 out of 10. Then there's Solar Man, who, despite giving you a full refill, is immune to pretty much all special weapons except Tornado Blow, which begs the question, why give you that refill in the first place when you can't even utilize it? Well, the stage provided you the tanks, you use them here and done. At least the conveyor belts in the arena do change the dynamic a little bit than if it had been a standard Solar Man fight. Hi, I'm Flashman85. You may remember me from such titles as You're Lucky I Still Appreciate Classic Jokes. Please stop stationing me in empty hallways. The Crystal Joe story, and the game panned by critics and colorblind players alike, Second Life Bar. Today I'll be giving you a guided tour of the Frenzy Reactor. Oh, don't worry, it's not as frantic as it sounds. See the enemies lining up one at a time to fight you? As long as you know in advance how each of them behaves, you should have no trouble at all. Besides, you only see a few of them only once or twice, so who needs to get good at fighting them? Try not to get hurt while admiring the overstimulating but intriguing scenery. It's not every day that you get to visit a bejeweled volcano. Why, that looks like Dr. Wiley's logo. Have you reached the end so soon? No? Well, that's irritating. I mean, say hello to Sparkman! Enjoy the skirmish and try not to question the missing chamber wall or unexpectedly top solid platforms. 15 to 20% of your total time here will be spent with the next boss, so let's hurry through the filler to meet Centaur Man? In a generic room. And he's immune to most attacks for some reason. Huh. Would you look at that? An interesting Chanky room. Clever use of conveyors with Aleka and Diarn. And finally, the real end boss, Solar Man. Are the conveyors fair? I don't know, but they're interesting. And perhaps you notice a charming progression through the Game Boy boss music library. You reach the end of the tour, but be sure to rescue Troy McClure on your way out. I'm sure he's here somewhere. This is one of the stages that I can see exactly what you're going for theme-wise, but honestly looks a bit of a shambles. Okay.
British. I think they might be British or something.
Graphics are not the only thing that make a stage, but the gameplay simply isn't there to make up for a set of shortcomings. The rooms are almost entirely flat, meaning moment-to-moment gameplay is holding right and stopping occasionally. Except the room to the left, which has conveyors you need to jump on. I certainly appreciate the effort made to keep the level animated and lively. So many entries in this competition did not bother with animation. Using the fire bar purely for decoration was a really nice touch, however the tilesets clash a lot. In colors, yep, British. In theming, and the constant change in tileset is quite jarring. The room just before the second boss has about 8 different tilesets that do not even match in color palette. It is not that the level is badly tiled, but ends up a visual mess. The level ends up with very little challenge outside the bosses, with a lot of start, stop, shoot, tanky enemy from range, reset, and repeat. What little variation there is involves conveyor belts, which are always positioned moving against the player, which results in a very tedious and monotonous stage. A Sparkman fight is different enough. Oh, I got it. Play-wise, that I appreciate the new room layout. I also think that combining Solarman with conveyors makes her a very interesting boss. Unfortunately, Solarman and Centaurman have incredibly buffed defenses, making the fights even more tedious than the stage ever was. Honestly, the main challenge with Centaurman now is not falling asleep. Alright.
Yeah, you got bonked, sweetie.
Okay, let's see here.
I got excited when I saw the gigantic crystal ball, but it's not magic at all! This isn't a fortune-telling palace, it's a research lab filled with scientists. I'm not anti-science, by the way, I just hate scientists. Good personality trait for Dr. Riley to give the guy who funds all his research. Bitter cold is a cruel mistress. Stay still too long and she'll claim your soul. Some robots may think they're superior to nature's creation, but we must struggle like any other living being. Will you fight, Bastion, or will you let your joints freeze over? I suppose as long as we stay on the doors, we'll be fine.
Huh. Okay. Escape from the wily sea,
castle.
rolling around at the speed of sound.
There are 3.
Alright, I think I need to turn something up in my volume mixer.
Why? Ah! 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 You opened something up on my screen with the keyboard!
Oh. Oops. Sorry. Okay, let's see.
Oh!
Let's lower the Discord volume just a little. I guess that's as good as it's gonna get.
What, the game volume or something?
Yeah, I noticed that the noise from the noise coming in from my microphone is louder than the background music, apparently.
Oh, you can hear your own mic going off?
No, but I can see the relative volume levels in the OBS's audio mixer. Let's see. Maybe I can do something like this. Blah, 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 blah. Alright, how's this? This is probably fine. No. This is a problem.
I guess it really doesn't matter. Hoi!
I need to,
It's gonna be a long stage, ain't it? Look at the back. Ah! Bye, Eddie.
Bye, Eddie. Yeah.
Jeez, it's been forever since I've put that thing up. I wonder if there's flags to check if it's being played with 2 players. Because if I made a level and there were flags for that, then I'd set like extra like power-ups and stuff.
Whoops!
No, I needed that. Uh-oh. Some health, please?
Actually, what am I doing?
Oh, hit the checkpoint.
Okay.
Oh, how the heck was I supposed to know that without the thing?
Third out to is Gemini
That's
Man. The fight is optional, but getting past him will reward you greatly.
Oh,
Okay, instead
jeez.
of that, I should be doing this probably.
Yeah, I figured that was gonna happen. I had like 1 health left.
Triple Gemini Man! It's only supposed to be 2 of him. That's crazy talk.
Rival!
Okay, this is kind of absurd.
That wasn't his weakness.
Oh.
I couldn't tell which... There were too many things bouncing around the screen that all looked the same. I had no idea what was going on. I was trying to figure out what his weakness was, and there's like lasers everywhere, and I don't know which ones were yours or his.
It's not magnetic shockwave. It's not that, I think. Oh, jeez.
He's doing so much damage! I just noticed he's doing way too much damage.
Whoop.
Oh great, well there goes half my health. You should not have this much freaking damage, man. I'm gonna die. He does way too much damage. This is ridiculous. This is an awfully designed level here with this boss. Like, this boss is absolute shit tier design. Do not turn your boss damage up to frickin' 11. It is stupid. It does not make a good challenge. It's just dumb. All it does is annoy the player. Oh. Alright, what is your weakness? I don't know, because I couldn't hit you with this stupid thing.
Better not be break bad. I can't tell.
This is like almost impossible with the amount of damage he's doing. Like you die in like 3 hits. Why do people like to do this? It is not a good... It's not good design. It's not going to get you any points. Just the opposite. Don't turn the boss damage up to freaking 11 for no reason. I don't really think he has much of a weakness besides the Trident, which is barely anything. That was just absolutely terrible. We had to do that too. Why? Well, oops, I'm dead. Sweetie. Sweetie, I can't see. I just don't... I don't get why people could turn their boss damage up so high. It would put... It's just... ugh.
Oh wait, yeah, this is one of those ones that you have to shoot.
Yeah, but I don't think you can... No, you can't actually make this jump, I don't think. You have to use the magnet beam. I don't think they tested the jump length enough. If it is, it's like 100% pixel perfect nonsense. Shorten the gap under there it is. Plunger Joe. Oh, jeez. Oh, this is an annoying combination. I figured I was gonna die. A very annoying combination going on right now. That blade is hard to dodge with to begin with. It's hard to dodge to begin with.
Why is this guy all shiny?
Can't
I
kill
guess
him.
he's invincible.
I guess so. Some ideas here to challenge and all that, but at the same time, it's like the Gemini Man thing, and you have to test the your jump distances. You can't just assume people can make like pixel perfect things, or that your jumps are correctly measured. All right, sweetie. I gotta stand up. Oi. Don't hit the mouse pad. Ah!
Wait.
Sweetie, no!
Dump me in the pit, sweetie.
Come here. Don't grab the keyboard. Fine, stay in my lap. I did not want to dump you in the pit, sweetie.
Up there, huh?
Guess so. Oh, excuse me. Why do I still taste my seafood ramen? That's not right. Oh, I ate government salmon today, so it's like I didn't feel like cooking, so me and my dad trade like an old lady that gets, well, how am I gets like government stuff, you know, like the old folks get things, and she gets tired of it, and it's not enough food for her, and it's better quality than the stuff you buy at like the grocery store, but it's still cheap food, you know. And microwave salmon is not exactly a good combination. I just slathered it, and I just mixed some Old Bay with butter and slathered the stuff with it, and that helped it not dry out too much. Long stage. More pixel perfect jumps. And there's nothing wrong with having hard jumps, but you can like reduce the pixels by enough so it's actually more fair of a tough jump than it is to go pixel perfect. Ah. Oh great, these things are immune. Oh! These jumps are way too tight. Oh,
hi, Anchor.
People love to use you, buddy. Whoa! Laggity lag. A capsule!
This goon!
Please set this card. Yoshi!
Yoshi. Alright, let's see here. Alright, credit where it's due. This place has a nice selection of ends. Morning Joe was a pleasant surprise. Big Stomper can be fun to dodge. Fankaro and Move Hover are effective enemy gimmicks. And Paturki has a few spots where it does something interesting, like falling down and following you after you if you skip it. Unfortunately, a nice selection doesn't mean they were used very well. Morning Joe is almost never placed to be a threat. The lyrics tend to be easily sniped. Move hovers are only used for timed pixel-perfect jumps and nothing else. And dealing with two of them in their first appearance is a bit awkward, even if it's a side appearance. And Machine Gun Joe is extremely dull when fought alone. Beyond the generally dull enemy placement, the level's main issue is that it's quite long. My last playthrough was a good 10 minutes or so, when the average Mega Man level isn't even half that. Considering the general lack of variety, this got tedious fast. The level's playable without much issue, although one of the checkpoints was broken in the review phase. So it also needs to be memorable to be much fun. The only thing I distinctly remember was Triple Gemini Man. It was kind of fun in a horribly messy kind of way, but it managed to be the most memorable part of the level for me. Otherwise, the level was less interesting than it could have been, and it really didn't feel like I was escaping anything. To be honest, I actually struggled to come up with things to talk about with this one at first. For all the excitement the level name could imply, there's very little going on here, unfortunately. I will give some praise to the enemy selection, though. Picking out and sticking with a set amount of specific enemies is something a lot of stages get wrong, believe it or not. Instead of opting for to use it once and then it's never seen again method. While some of the enemy configurations are pretty good, it doesn't distract from another more overarching issue. The stage goes on for way too long, to the point where it gets boring. The lack of gimmicks only emphasizes this, with the move hovers being the only one, and arguably the Fankaros with how they're used. A lot of the jumps involving the former feel really strict, though even in earlier parts of the stage. On that note, I have no idea what the right method is for bypassing the setup for the first token. I did find a way to get past it by pushing the top one to create a magnet beam platform underneath, but it still left me wondering whether or not I did it the intended way. While we're talking about tokens, the third one in particular struck me as a bit odd. Not just because you're almost guaranteed to get hit by the Fankaro in the previous screen while leaving the room, but because the token itself is far easier to get compared to the first and second ones. Speaking of the second token, while I appreciate wanting to change up the vanilla boss in some way to make them more interesting, I don't think giving Gemini Man another clone was the best option. All it really amounts to is making it more annoying to avoid bumping into him, which is a problem seeing as he can kill you in 5 hits from contact damage. For better or worse though, he's definitely the most noteworthy thing in the entire level. This stage was brought to you by Joe's. Seriously though, could really cut down on the Joe and Stamper spam. This is a very enemy-focused stage with very minimal gimmicks. In the form of those platform guys that you need to shoot to propel them forward, which I don't think is even incorporated into the stage design properly. Unless I'm missing something about how the platforms work. Still, the stage has to take responsibility in teaching how gimmicks work to the player. I guess there are some neat uses of the Wind Owl enemies with I need to avoid being pushed in the spike walls or pitfalls. That's a pretty standard use when it comes to wind gimmicks. The optional with Gemini Man fight is very hard to manage since he has 3 clones circling around him instead of 2. The contact damage is not nerfed to compensate for that either. I said optional, except it has a token fight behind it, and the fight itself is hidden in a random pit with not very much indication that it's safe to fall into. Yeah, that ain't good, Chief. 3 areas to focus on for next time: theming, variety, and challenge progression. The level name sounds exciting, but I don't see anything especially wily about this city. I'm unsure how fighting endless Joes and Blaine configurations constitutes an escape. I envision a landscape littered with Dr. W logos, skull-themed enemies everywhere, a chase sequence, aesthetic changes to make it look like we're somehow exiting a city, which so much more could be done here. Likewise, there's untapped potential in the challenges. There are certainly moments of creativity. I enjoyed a difficult twist on the Gemini Man fight, and the final Move Hover and Fankaro challenge is exceptional. But so much of the level focuses on defeating the stationary or oversized enemy directly in front of you to make progress. I don't mind the parts that border on enemy spam because they're the welcome break from effortlessly plowing through one roadblock after another with laser trident. A more deliberate challenge progression would safeguard against challenges repeating themselves. There is some semblance of challenge curve. The second mini-boss is harder than the first, and the end of the level is generally more complicated than the beginning, but the difficulty and complexity are constantly wavering. It's assumed that the player is already familiar with every new enemy and gimmick, so there's no clear starting point from which to develop the difficulty. Putting aside the thematic disconnect, the level is aesthetically very strong. The tile work is good, minus the secret path that's labeled as a bottomless pit, and the music selection is spot on. Checkpoints are where they need to be, except the one which needs to not be inside a wall. Screen transition safety is an issue in a few places, but otherwise the construction is stable. It's not a bad level, but some important aspects need work. Of the 50 rooms in this level, there are 5 with anything worth talking about. The rest was the same slog against the same heavily armored, tanky, and non-threatening enemies on flat terrain. You've seen one room, you've seen them all. The enemy choice here simply does not work with your terrain. They can all be shot from long distance, and you are in zero danger from the vast majority of the level. The fact these enemies increase in number does not constitute a difficulty curve. It only pads the level out even further. The few points worth talking about mostly revolve on their use of Fangro and Move Hover objects. There is occasionally something interesting to do with these, such as fighting a Fangro in a room where the player is surrounded by spikes. And the room at the end that combines both, which was a really enjoyable concept. Other times the idea is there but is poorly executed, such as the Fangro in front of a pit off-screen where the player has little to no reaction time. The Fangro combined with the Mad Grinder offers no real consistency from the fight, and they're never in sync. Functionally, the first checkpoint is misplaced and you start off inside the terrain. At least one of the Fangros is placed on top of a screen transition. I do not think the first token puzzle worked as intended, and the teleporter appeared to be impossible to reach without weapons. The second token was obtuse, as the transition is indicated as though it were a bottomless pit. I would not have minded a Gemini Man fight if the checkpoint had not been placed behind such a bulky enemy. None of the issues by themselves would have broken a level to such an extent, but the fact that 90% of the stage is utterly wasted and takes forever to get through sapped any fun I could have had. You could have cut half the rooms out of the stage and it still would have been a long but far more enjoyable level. There's a guy up there. Professor Moriarty. If you're bothering to come here, then I suppose I could tell you about what we're researching. The primary mission is to create artificial, unmelting, unbreakable ice. What purpose does this serve, you may ask? Well, it's mostly just for aesthetic purposes, but I'm sure there's a good use that we haven't thought of yet.
Moriarty, like a Mario Skull Secret Zone. We weren't having problems with it connecting. Like, I couldn't sign in, and then I just closed the game and reapplied the update. I thought I'd already replied, and it started working. So I'm guessing it was probably just update what? Issue.
Eggman again! Hi, this is the level's creator here. Just wanted to preface the level with an apology on account of it's not complete. 100% playable though, don't worry, I wouldn't have submitted if what I had wasn't fully functional. I had big ideas, but health issues forced me to stop working on the level for 4 weeks, and by then it was only days to the deadline. But I decided that what I had so far was worth submitting anyway, so here we are. Anyway, I could go on for hours about things I wanted to do. Short version, there were supposed to be 2 more mini-stages and a boss. And things I did I am not satisfied with, but I won't. Instead, let me just say that next contest will make something much better. I'm sorry again for not being able to deliver a complete version of my level.
Pingus and Wily.
Iceman plus Green Hill.
Not a terrible use of those. And it's keeping them around long enough and introducing the mechanics. So, oh, I got to but oh, okay. A little more warning about that kind of thing. Jeez.
Surprise fish.
Fish.
Dang it!
Down that pit.
Surprise fish!
Gotta be down a pit. The surprise fish is very annoying.
What? Huh?
Oh! If they start melting, I can't jump off of them if they're on the top of the water. That's annoying.
I have never seen those blocks before. Dang it.
What?
Like, I don't know, have the player, like, introduce that gimmick by, like, having the player fight a Sniper Joe or something while standing on them. Make it obvious that they're melting. Nice. What?
I guess we have to read. There's 2 energy elements, so we'd have to do it twice anyways.
You're not Iceman!
Why do people like putting him outside the water?
Because it's a Sonic level.
I guess, but it's still like he's meant to be fought in like water. His mechanics are much harder to deal with outside of things. I mean, he's not awful, but he's not like uber hard, but he is a multiplayer when you don't know who he's going to go after, but where was the split path?
To the left?
Maybe?
Yep.
I guess so.
Okay. Skullman and Chemical Plant. What is food? Something you eat. What is food? Gotta get some food.
I am weary of every pit in this creator's level right now. Hold on, wait.
I don't know the food song.
I don't know the food song either.
Something Raocow made up in a Mario ROM pack. Set to this music.
Check the right.
Okay.
Kaboom!
I mean, yeah, like having a secret exit in a level is...
Wow. How the heck? That's a good thing we had the compass.
I didn't even see the compass alert.
I heard it. It does the Zelda effect.
I didn't hear it either.
No. Hornets! Watch out. Oh, nope. Ah! I guess watch out was correct. Oh, back here. Okay. Thanks for the no warning spike fall. Appreciate it. Well, Susie decided to take a bath instead. Well, how am I supposed to get over this now? Thanks.
Wow. That's the thing, alright.
Ooh, hiccups. That... Oh, thanks. Well, I guess we could have gotten bolts. Thanks, sweetie.
Oh no.
Foot off my hand, please. Oh, this background is just like...
It's so pink!
Strawberry milk level!
Strawberry milk. I like... Wow!
Strawberry Milkman! Unusual robot master names. This is not raw milk, man. Would he be carrying around a cow and shooting from the udders or something?
Or maybe he is a cow.
This is barnyard?
Yes.
You aren't Skullman!
It's also Kung Pao. I find it hilarious that one of the dev kit bosses is from the DOS game. Kevin should be proud.
Skull secret soda. Hey, I was going to go get more soda, and she's like, "No, you will not." Let go! Let go of me!
I wouldn't have known it was unfinished if that sign wasn't there. That being said, while I certainly hope you feel better, I must say I'm not sure if the finished plan would have been an improvement. Level length is a tricky beast. It's up to interpretation.
Elements were hidden. Nice.
For many people, which means it's either it's very easy to end up too short or too long. Skull's Secret Zone is slightly too brief for my liking, but it's still long enough that I don't feel like I'm missing something afterwards. Given that, doubling the number of mini stages would be too long, which is always worse than being too short, especially with over 150 entries. I played Chemical Skull first, which is pretty okay. The Met encounters tend to be a bit samey, but I found myself appreciating Skullman and Skeleton Joe. I can't say their scenarios are anything I haven't seen, but that's because those scenarios work. Firing at you from above is a good use of those enemy types. The underwater section is in a similar boat. It doesn't feel novel, but the design is serviceable, save for the spike dropping before the checkpoint as opposed to after. I wish sea mines were used a little more, though they had a good intro despite barely appearing. There's also at least one Motobug that just teleported, no idea why. Ice Hill was considerably more interesting. Besides the unique grass ice aesthetic, I found the water spouts and melting ice were pretty spiffy, especially when they were combined. Beyond that, the icicle intro was really clever. Using a cloud of pings to slow us down, thus forcing us to see the icicles forming, that was really cool, and I wish more was done with them afterwards. But if Chemical Skull felt short, Ice Hill felt really short. I wanted so much more and was hoping for more from that drop, but instead it was just an abrupt Sonic one. Crying Shame just had a good start going. Instead of adding 2 more zones, I'd advise expanding those 2 to get more level from them. That might be easier for players to stomach on top of making a better level. Yeah, like, having multiple exits in a stage is fine if you're doing like a Super Mario World sort of thing, where the exits go to different levels, but like, don't do it in a contest. First and foremost,
don't do what in the contest?
Multiple exits.
Oh.
First and foremost, I'm sorry to hear you weren't able to make your level into what you originally envisioned due to health issues. Those kinds of situations are always rough, but in the end, your health is way more important when compared to finishing a stage for a fan game. On that note, I'll be judging this level based on its current state and its own merits. While it's certainly nice to have context for what it could have been, I don't think 2 more mini-stages would have helped it. The length of the stage with the 2 sections combined seems fine as is. As for the actual level design, a lot of it unfortunately feels rather non-distinct. Some of the segments in the Ice Hill Zone path do manage to stick out a bit, if only due to a few tricky jumps here and there across ice blocks. That aside, I didn't really find much else that was noteworthy with this level, besides maybe some moments of those fish that might as well be up and downs. And some of them can easily blindside you and cause a cheap death. Having said that, however, I can still tell there was at least some thought put into the stage. It's just not fully realized as per the explanation at the beginning. I'd definitely be interested in seeing a more refined version of the level that does the original concept justice. Just to give a suggestion, having gimmicks from the respective Sonic levels and mixing them with the ones from Mega Man would really help make things more interesting. While this version of the level might not be all that great, there's still a lot of potential with the concept itself. Red Mountain Zone Act 2! It is pretty obviously a Sonic crossover stage if the name didn't already give it away. There's just flat out an Eggman statue. The stage aesthetics were pretty alright. Skullman and Chemical Plant tile sets mixed together surprisingly well. Not so much with Iceman and Green Hills though, unfortunately. The reskins of the Mega Man enemies into Badniks are also neat. Other than the graphical style of things though, there isn't a whole lot going on with this gimmick of mashing Sonic and Mega Man elements together. Tile sets are just tile sets, no new platform gimmicks, and the choice of Badnik enemies is very basic. A random spike fall section in the very first screen with no indication that it'd be one. Rude. And a checkpoint is placed right after that section, kind of a mean trap there. Also, up and down fish enemies with 0 indications they are there, which is never fair regardless of source accuracy. There's just one too many cheap tricks in this short entry that I can't really get a very high score for design. Just to try the point that this is a Sonic crossover stage further, probably, both paths have Sonic Man as the end boss. A little bit disappointing that both paths end up leading to the same boss despite the radically different theming. Here's what I wanted from this level. One half that's a Sonic level with Mega Man enemies, one half that's a Mega Man level with Sonic enemies. Instead, this is two separate Mega Man levels with no Sonic music, three nice-looking Sonic enemy sprites, and a chaotic collision of tiles. Blame the Chaos Emerald, I don't know. Wait a second, it's Collision Chaos Zone! The dev kit was full of Sonic staples. Where the slopes, springs, moving, swinging, and falling platforms, and pipes that suck you in and whisk you elsewhere. Things like penguins and pink water are a good start, but the overall enemy and gimmick selection doesn't work the crossover angle nearly hard enough. More inherent overlap in the source levels might have helped the theming. Iceman Cap Zone and Chemical Plant Man, perhaps. Anything that avoids too unpleasant dryland confrontations with a boss whose only relevance is a name. I think the core issue is too little planning and attention to detail, as evidenced by the challenges design. Players must instantly adapt to new concepts. For example, water and building platform and buzzsaw and worm and fish introduced simultaneously on one screen. And deadly surprises, for example, blindly falling onto spikes right before a checkpoint. A few spikes are missing collision. Unnecessary two-way transitions abound. Checkpoints and health refills feel like afterthoughts. What ruins the level for me is the text box at the beginning. Starting with a lengthy apology sets the level up for failure, breaks the immersion, and forces me as a blind judge to digest bias-inducing information that I now need to filter out. Some positives, I like the Bolton token placement, the interior Green Hill graphics, the vertical skeleton Joe section, the boss chamber skull decoration, one or two water spout challenges, and the intro area with its statues and stage select music. I think you got the wrong idea when making a level for this contest. Splitting your limited time between multiple small stages results in two lackluster stages rather than one good stage. I feel like the graphics weren't done particularly well and tile sets were mixed very haphazardly, especially in the Iceman stage. The fact that only some enemies are reskinned as Sonic ones, including some of the same type of enemy not being reskinned, gave the stage an incredibly unfinished feel. The fact that the stage has not bothered to use Sonic music and instead uses stock Mega Man tunes really robs the stage of some potential identity, and again, helps it feel very unfinished.
So are you trying to chew on my underwear? It just came out of the dryer. Those are like $27 a pack.
The jumping fish, up and down reskins are not fun enemies and placed over pits. Yes, these are also in the Sonic games, but those games always place these under bridges where the player would not die instantly due to not having natural clairvoyance.
Why are you chewing up the bed?
There is one jump after the second Sniper Joe that was quite unfair when the enemies respawn behind you, making the jump between bullets and past the jumping fish unpleasant. Also, why is there only one boss? At least use an Icy Dev Kit boss for the Ice Team level. Yes, I know he's called Sonic Man, but come on. While most of the level is quite standard and dull, there is one section at the end of the ice stage that combines ice blocks and geysers, which felt genuinely new and interesting. Expanding on this sort of idea would have been a much better direction for your level going. I can relate to not feeling very well and running out of time on something, but in these situations you need to focus on one main thing. Making one good stage, even as short, would have been a much better use of your time and energy.
Was this the guy who was... No, there was a Mario Doctor knockoff from some sim game or something on SNES or something.
Dr. Wright?
I don't know.
Ha ha ha! I'm having a time of my life here. All these so-called unbreakable ice prototypes are finally a real challenge for me. If you're so powerful, I'll destroy everything. The world will be split into pieces. Wait.
Okay, Nene.
Actually, forget I said that last part.
Mechanical Factory.
All lowercase.
Yeah. Especially, well, but then you have ones that are one element that feel that way too. Like, Hunter Tower. I mean, it hasn't been as bad. I mean, that was almost as bad as Yggdrasil, but oh no, coil it up. I don't know.
Oh no!
Yay!
Really? Hang!
Pixel perfect jumps again. Uh-oh.
Why?
Because people up there with pixel perfect jumps. Hi, kitty. I can't see through you. Really? Well, we gotta go back to this. Just to... Rush jet time, I think. Gear clowns! Ah! Wee, please! I keep hearing the bomb sound effect in my head, but that's supposed to be there.
Bye!
Gonna please. Ah! What just blew up on the bottom there? What the heck was
no
that?
idea.
You saw that too?
I saw that too.
Mike? This isn't Spamton's secret basement here. What's going on over there?
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Go, go, go! Escaroo!
Oh, no.
What stage did Escaroo appear in?
Ringman, I think? Was it Ringman?
I wanted to say it was Ringman, but...
Toadman or Ringman, one of those two, yeah.
I was gonna say, Ringman already has a mini-boss, doesn't he? The one with the rings.
Yeah.
Ha! Interesting.
Loud thud.
Nope.
Of course, it's over there. That's what I was worried about. Yeah, the weird ring thing that is just a thing.
It's the ringy thingy.
Ow! Weedy! That hurts? Kitten! Can you room yourself, like, chew on yourself, not on top of me? Yay, lag! Go off, lag! Rush, come back! Toggle, please! Rush was a husky there, apparently.
Oh, you got it!
There's a long jump for that for some reason.
No, you... There's no Super Mario Brothers exit here.
Oh, yay, get shot, die. Oh.
Wow.
Ow!
Can't you just rush coil up there? Whoa. Another Escaroo!
Woo! It's like a Suzy Goudreau name almost. Snailroo! Aga! I don't know who it's going after. Know where to dodge. Eddie!
Eddie!
Oh, little energy is better than no energy. Interrupting Joe! Ah!
I only had 1 HP left anyway, so whatever.
Hoible doible. Uh-oh.
What hit you? Oh.
They say they're doing as much damage as I remember them doing in, like, Dustman stage. Metal Man! Ah! Oh, it's hard mode, Metal Man. Okay. He's hard to hit with the shared shot.
Just use a metal blade on him.
I don't have that.
That's the joke.
This is kind of why hard man is kind of annoying, just because he has so much health for his... Ah!
Yay!
A harder hard man. A harder metal man, rather.
I was gonna say, Hard Man is a completely different boss. Rippling. Alright, let's see here. Gotta say, it's a bit of a treat to see someone making use of the expanded crash lifts. They make a solid core gimmick with a number of scenarios built using their new drop mechanics, alongside the ability to go in 4 directions. I found a snail mini-boss at the mid-boss of the list being particularly memorable, if only because the fight is either annoying or hilariously easy depending on where you stand. And the final room before the boss proved an excellent culmination of everything that came before. The other gimmicks aren't as interesting, but their scenarios are still decently designed for the most part. That said, the lack of proper indicators for the telespawns and junk blocks hurts the flow of the level, as you have to see and memorize where they'll appear instead of having a clear visual. The junk also has a way of just piling up and short-circuiting the stage around it, necessitating some cleanup.
I mean, it did that in the original Junkman too. Can you stop?
That was the... Was the junk a Junkman gimmick or a Sparkman gimmick? It was for... Yeah, the junk blocks are Sparkman's stage. Unfortunately, the level's true biggest issue is that it isn't terribly memorable. While it's nice to have Crash List doing more things, this otherwise feels like a Metal Man remix with an improperly looped Fuse Man theme. The amount of Mega Man 2 presence is a big part of that, and while it does step away from Mega Man 2 assets occasionally, it doesn't usually do so in any notable way. To make matters worse, the gimmick selection is overall generic. Blocks and conveyors are a pretty familiar combination, and the Crash Lifts are ultimately just platforms.
Ow, stop!
If the enemies are all from Mega Man 2, except for the snail doesn't help, and it ends with an old-fashioned Metal Man.
I caught them both. Both those buddy kick paws are now grabbed. What are you doing now? Ow, that really hurt, Cat. Let me play my game, jeez.
As a result, while the design is for the most part decent, the level fails to stand out, and you need both good and interesting design to truly succeed. I feel like the stage probably could have used a better name. Not that it's inaccurate, but it's a bit on the generic side. That also more or less sums up my feelings on the level itself. The ideas are certainly there, but most of the segments end up feeling pretty dull in the long run. I think the main reason for this is because moving platforms are inherently a very basic gimmick, one that needs a lot more than just gaps and floating enemies to be made interesting. Speaking of which, I can understand the use of tellies for the store stage. I definitely advise giving your spawn point some sort of visual indicator. The same goes for the junk block spawners as well. Not that you'd be at much risk of accidentally bumping into one as it spawns there, but that sort of conveyance wouldn't hurt the level either. If anything, I think the biggest issue is that this stage can be rather tedious. Most of that comes from having to wait for some of the Crash Man platforms to loop back around. Specifically the one in the second token room, and the final one leading up to Metal Man. Both of them take much longer to come back around than you really should. Which comes to even more of an issue if you happen to die in either of those sections. All that being said, I did get a bit of enjoyment out of the conveyor and junk block based segments. They're not exactly what I'd call innovative or even difficult, but they're still structured well enough and don't carry the same wait times that the Crash Man platforms do. For what it's worth, I think you're at least on the right track here when it comes to level progression, how the tokens are regulated to easily identifiable side rooms, and introductory segments. It just needs something more in order to properly stand out from the countless other moving platform levels. Iron Assembly Line. Quite a decent little level. It stuck with the theme nicely throughout and made some nifty use of the jump blocks. It also feels like the stage is very Mega Man 2 inspired with its selection of gimmicks and enemies. The snail mini-boss from Toadman is quite obnoxious as it is, so dealing with the crash lift timing just makes it a nightmare fight. Use Laser Trident to save yourself some trouble. Second token is a little problematic with the screen taking a bit of time to get back to, being a few screens away from the checkpoint, and the crash lift placed precisely at the worst spot, so you're always forced to wait for it to finish one cycle before you can attempt to net precise timing on the gaps. Just a general tip to everyone to refrain from putting Sniper Joes right after checkpoints, because that's where most of the player's time is going to be spent on for a stage after needing to retry a bunch. Could maybe use a less obvious boss in Metal Man, but it's alright, he's still fitting to the theme of the level. A few important lessons can be learned from this level, lowercase. First, there's a fine line between needing to react quickly and being unfairly blindsided. Junk blocks start falling from the sky without warning. Sniper Joes lie in ambush at screen entrances. Tellies appear out of thin air. Surprises like these need to be telegraphed somehow, or else the player needs to be given more time to process what's happening when the unexpected occurs. Second, take special weapons into account when designing a level. Laser Trident, a large weapon with a large ammo reserve that invalidates shields, is the weakness of nearly every enemy here. No one with a little magnet beam expertise can sneak into the token rooms through the exit shafts.
I mean, I don't care about that so much. It's just you're rewarding skill at that point.
Almost every platforming challenge can be bypassed effortlessly with Rush. And considering how repetitive and harrowing some of the platform tracks are, there's little reason not to. Third, sensible construction goes a long way in making a level feel professional. Why are the checkpoints hovering slightly above the ground? Why is there a bottomless pit when the screen below contains a conveyor you should logically land on? Where are these jump blocks coming from if there's a solid wall on the screen above them? What's up with the awkward screen shifting when exiting the second token screen? So there's some oversights and there's a lot to finesse, but let's not gloss over the merits. Clearly some consideration went into the length, focus, learning curve, challenge progression, checkpoints, power-ups, and overall difficulty. Although we've liked a mixing of tile sets. Metal Man's graphics are implemented competently, and Screen with Eddie looks particularly appealing. Despite an eventual fade-out, the music remix sounds great. Surprises aside, jump blocks are used creatively and effectively. Tully and Sniper Joe is a genuinely good combination, thank you. I could stand to be wild more, but there's a foundation for something good here. This feels like a bad Mega Man Maker level. I have no real kind words for this. The countless back was struggling, buckling, and then I think my goodwill toward the stage was ended by the time the 5th Telly and 3rd jump block spawned on my head without warning, thanks to a total lack of graphical indicators. I don't think any of the challenges presented are in a vacuum. Super difficult, but it's infuriating due to the lack of attention paid to very, very basic level design principles. Mega Man 2 Wily 4 is known for combining tellies and crashless in a manner that results in death if you get knocked off. You know what else Mega Man 2 Wily Force gives the player? Graphical indication through holes in the terrain to where the tellies spawn from. Mega Man 3 Sparkman Revisited also has jump blocks combined with death pits. But that stage for all its faults also shows where they spawn. This is very basic stuff that can take a stage like this from being what might be a reasonable challenge to being plain unfair and unfun. Honestly, the stage lost the right for me to attempt this Buster-only as challenges rather quickly. Given just how out of nowhere death comes in this stage, what might have been reasonable checkpoints quickly draw out their welcome. By the end, I'd have enough of being knocked into pits and was rather heavily abusing Water Shield and Rush Jet. I don't even like using Rush Jet in the official games unless it's forced. I really don't. The Crashman lists are also just an utter nuisance here. 2 tile-wide gaps turn the jumps into almost pixel-perfect affairs. And honestly, that second token that involves said 2 tile gaps and tellies is just way easier to suicide jump off Rush Jet to collect rather than bother with the long way around. Some of the crash lists also desync pretty easily, and oftentimes you are left waiting around for an arbitrary amount of time to miss, since they're often so long and so few rides that they caught. Honestly, it's hard to tell how difficult this stage's challenges really are when they keep getting blindsided or force these weapons to prevent crap constantly sideswiping into one of 1,000 death pits in this level. I got rather sick of Fuse Man's theme by the end of it too. Fuse Man's theme. I love that song and I got sick of it. For what it's worth, I don't consider this a skip candidate. Weapon use is viable, and the rooms are not so convoluted and cramped that good old Rush Jet won't get you across them. Bring a W tank or 2, and you cheese most rooms, but at that point it kind of takes away the stage's design. And since the stage is basically just Meadowlands level at worst and with less interesting gimmicks and more generic enemies, so can also expect some of the other scores to be hurting as well. So yeah, obviously I'm not a fan.
Who was that?
Nope, that little babby down there knows his rights. He keeps screaming out this is his dream job, but I can't help feeling like he's being exploited. Seriously, do none of these old tots know how to use email? Can't they afford a phone or 2? Well, I wouldn't know how much a scientist's job pays, much less whatever kind of science they do here. Right, Firebirds! My true passion is being a research assistant, carrying notes around in my funnel! Who needs email? We can have your communications be handled by a cute robot like me! That's my career now! Okay, that's pretty cute. Shinies! Ah, hello there. I set up a little jewel shooting minigame here that you might remember. I was originally here because the researchers wanted to see if my jewels were stronger than ice, but now I'm bored. So take a few shots of that jewel with your buster and try to keep it in the air for as long as you can. We're playing Grandstander! Nice.
Up, down, all around.
You spin me right around.
That's a lot of tokens.
Wow. Esperanto 8-Bit remix by CCM133. What?
What? How did... Whoa!
No, Yuigi!
I mean, that's kind of interesting, using these guys to, like, the bottoms of them and stuff. Like,
Yeah, that's cool.
People! Hi! Well, I got the token at least. Oh no. Tight! Jumping! Oh,
We're playing V. Moving snake. Oops, I'm dead. Woo!
Oh! Ah! Well, I got the token. No, no!
Thanks.
Ah! It's gonna be weird timing. Get across these!
Ooh.
What the heck? Oh.
It's the Gravitron, baby.
Oh yeah! Seasickness simulator! Oh yeah!
Aha.
Oh!
You made it!
Jeez, that was close. Oh no.
Now we're really V. I like it.
Yeah, this isn't a bad way to utilize this on this boss. At least it's not the Susie dad or whatever.
That was a good level. I like that.
Yeah. It needs a little more warning on some of the spike threats, but...
Wow, Shinryu hated it. Why? Oh boy, there's a lot of gravity flipping here. Up, down, all around is all about swapping between floor and ceiling, and it supplements the concept with temporary platforms, flying rooms, and the occasional combat break. The sections which rely on enemies are dull, with Founder and Tech being non-threatening throughout. But the gravity swapping sections are inoffensive, occasionally fun, and they have a sense of difficulty curve in the climax. I actually rather like the spots where it uses traps to launch you into spikes. The long hallways of many flips are great fun, and the Hunter Bee fight, while certainly very easy to beat, was certainly unique. In fact, if there's one issue I have with the intentional design, is that I found it was too easy. Unfortunately, the level has a few things on the coding side of things that drag it down. While gyro platforms work perfectly normally on the floor, if you're working upside down, then they rise at the pace of molasses instead. Perhaps that's what does good behavior, but it invalidates certain sections so completely that I'm not convinced it was intended. Similarly, air tikis don't do anything if you're on their chin, making it a lot less threatening than normal. And they're already not super threatening. Finding ways to adjust these issues would be a good first priority, and then I'd focus on making the level more interesting. I've always felt that basing an entire stage off gravity flippers was something of an uphill battle. It can definitely be done well, but considering how overused they tend to be in Fanworks and even other entries, it's the kind of gimmick that really needs something alongside to help the stage in question stand out. And this one doesn't do enough with it, unfortunately. Granted, that's not to say the level doesn't try. There's obviously some thought put into a few of the room layouts and hazards found here. That spike section leading up to the end being the most notable one I can think of. And I appreciate the attempt to spice up a dev kit boss by integrating the gravity flippers alongside a unique room layout. That being said, it still ends up feeling like a very bare-bones stage with several aspects. Short length and lacking aesthetics are certainly a problem, but I place most of the blame on many of the rooms just not being all that interesting to not being that easy to traverse, be it due to the very easy to bypass stage hazards or enemies whose placement was non-threatening at best. The surprise Crystal Joe notwithstanding. The segment involving a constant back and forth gravity flipping was a step in the right direction, but it doesn't really get explored much since the level was already ending by that point. The last and probably the most interesting thing to note is the levels of the rising falling platforms. These could have been the pieces the gravity flippers were missing, but sadly the use here feels regulated to very basic platforming moments, and one instance of bullying a poor Big Snakey by trivializing its fight. There's definitely potential here with the gravity flipper and slow upside down platform combo. It just needed a bit more polish to shine through. 360, 720, 1080! As expected from the title, it's a gravity flipping stage for sure. It's alright in execution. Despite the stage's short length, there's certainly enough variety to keep it interesting. The blocks falling slowly when you were upside down is a unique spin of the whole upside down ordeal. It also feels like unintentional behavior. Kind of reminds me of Super Mario World hacks in that regard, utilizing strange quirks like that. This music cover is a bit not good. Many off notes and within the proper looping point. I like what he did there with the boss fight, effectively changing gravity orientation with each jump. Their bullets do kind of blend in with the arrows in the room, though. Whoops. If good ideas came in a pressurized can, and someone shook that can up and down and all around and popped it open, this is the level is the mess that would be left behind after the explosion. Fighting enemies and dodging spikes while constantly flipping up and down.
Coca-Cola Espuma! I don't have a boom.
Platforms are falling. You have a vine boom.
Wait, no, that's not the right... Nope. There it is.
An upside down battle with Big Snakey, inverted air tiki encounters. These are really neat ideas, but the level is cluttered with ideas and only the famous hint of organization ties them together. Also, an entire level's worth of enemies and gimmicks are introduced on the first 2 screens alone. There's barely any architecture to regulate the flow of the gameplay. Entering a new screen is frequently hazardous, with surprises too close to the entrance, and multiple opportunities to end up in the ceiling if you're goofing around. Although the space backgrounds look nice, the rest of the tile work is obtrusive. Insufficient color contrast between foreground and background bricks, and directional arrows that aren't helpful, but don't feel like a natural part of the environment. All this makes it hard to tell where to focus sometimes. The Despite my critiques of the tile work, I approve the artistic instincts on display. The tall windows into space break up the brick sections nicely, and I'm charmed by the decorative nubs under the floor before the last area. The music choices are solid. I like the boss fight and its intriguing use of gravity flipping in lieu of jumping. Using gravity flips as landmines to toss people into ceiling spikes is genius. My recommendation for next time is to gently open the can and carefully pour only half its contents into the same size glass you spilled all over here. It's weird how mindless this level feels. It's not totally unfun, just mindless. The actual level terrain is rather deliberate, but the end result is that the player is just sort of flung up, down, all around. I can't say I felt like I was truly in control of the gimmick. Even when instant death gets involved, it becomes an afterthought to avoid. And the few times it catches you off guard could get kind of annoying. Weirdly, the constant checkpoints every other screen do help wallpaper over some of those sections into being tolerable. Whilst the layout seems deliberate in allowing the player to mostly hold left or right, what doesn't help is just how much of an utter mess the enemy placement is. Things are just placed off screen for you to fling yourself in as you get your gravity flip. And having gravity indicators is obviously a boon. The rest of the tiling is inconsistent, just kind of ugly. Not sure what happened to the Gyro Man falling platforms either. They seem to be broken half the time. Was that deliberate? Different graphics could have made it certain that the different gravities were so, instead of feeling like utter chaos. The boss, whilst not harder, is a neat idea. This is very much a type of idea that could be expanded upon and brought into something great if it had a new dedicated fight. It's weird how this level ended up. Maybe I've seen so many other and better gravity flipping levels by this point, something this unpolished and jank fails to make any sort of impact. But that is what happens when a stage truly fails to engage the player.
Funny how some of these judges are just way harsher than the others at times. Just personal taste, I guess.
Alright, I need stalling for time. I need water and I need Cheetos, and now I'm stalling for time. Ha ha ha.
I am one of this lab's most valuable employees. Not only do I know a thing or two about ice, but I also have the finesse to smash it to pieces! They call me the Maker and Breaker. I think it's a cool nickname. I guess it's just there. While he's getting that, I'm going to check on
Scatty. Right, stalling for time.
Alright, you're back. Time for stalling for time. Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Why are you here, hard man?
That's not hard, man. Pretty sure this is Stone Man.
Stone man.
Eddie?
Eddie.
Okay.
The token was buried in, like, the bottom right corner for some reason. Or bottom left corner, I don't know if you noticed that. What? A tiny doggo?
I didn't see it.
What?
What?
Oh. That's just annoying. Why are there tiny hot dogs? Get out of the way! Did we just despawn the ball? Oh no, he's just gonna keep. Ow! Get out of the way. Ah! You jerk!
What?
Ah,
what?
you jerk!
What? Look at these little tiny mini bosses. They're adorable.
Yeah, that part's fine and all. It's just kind of whatever this weird stalling for time thing is kind of annoying. Timer dude. Stall man. Huh?
Yes.
Whoa!
What? What? Let's see, I'm gonna have to hang the beam.
Doot doot doot. Back.
Yay! More
Again?
Stone Man. Yeah, I'm not dealing with you. Oh. Wait, what?
I don't think this is working correctly. Oh, what? What? Oh,
That worked, I guess.
I guess? What was that? Wait, how does that work? How do you get squished between the wind? There's nothing there!
That was the laggiest lag death I've ever seen. Whoops.
What? I get the feeling the skip gate is because these platforms are not working correctly. That sure is some, like, zippity zoop zop going on. Zippity zop and zoop up. Zipping all over the place instead of doing what's supposed to. It's the zip man. Oh great, and he has respawning minions. Oh. Great. Great job. Perfect.
What's down?
I don't know.
What is... Huh?
Is this the other route that we come from?
Wow! Okay,
I don't think this level is working correctly. Did see? Like, I just got bonked off the platform and it freaking spawned in, and now what? There is really wonky weirdness going on with all these.
Yeah. Yeah. No!
Yeah.
No! No!
Yeah, this is
How
just
is it-
genuinely not not fun.
I'm having
Yeah, this
fun.
just looks like progress.
What? Okay, yeah,
I
this
mean,
level
it's
is
not.
broken.
It's not fun enemy placement. Do we want to just skip it then, or
Yeah.
what? This is like very broken.
Okay. Aww.
No.
Skippable. This level is deemed such due to various technical issues with its custom assets. If you choose to play, prepare for jank.
I think we discovered that. Yes.
Some of the tokens here are locked behind a boss fight that's very, very grindy and time-consuming. She just keeps healing, and I almost had her. Gah! My skin crawls just thinking about it.
Yeah. Jank.
I do like a good amount of jank, but yeah.
Bye. I teleported out right at the right time there. That was super jank. Wow.
Okay, where do we begin then? Well, the aesthetic is great. It might only be a generic fortress, but with turtles, it's very well made and it's memorable. The level also has really cool concepts. I like the lead robot master harassing you throughout by blocking off paths, and the literal mini-bosses were adorable, and I want 20 of them. Additionally, reading over the level, there's a clear and effective design intent. The tornado rooms seem well built, and while the enemies aren't used very much, the only spot that was outright aggravating is the ladder climb with all the hot dogs. Buster only in there simply is not worth the hassle. Thank goodness for Tornado Blow. However, there's not a much better way to say it. This feels like it's held together with prayers, silly string, and duct tape. There are several invisible blocks in the level. One of the tornado generators is missing their graphics. Stall Woman has some very awkward-looking flight patterns. This is more of an aesthetic thing than strictly functionality. And most mystifying, the tornado generators, despite being reskinned Kamigoro tornadoes, cause a lot of zips or just plain don't work. The level is definitely playable, and I feel at least some of these should be fixed for the release, because A, I don't like making players suffer through our shenanigans. B, y'all get a lot of upgrades that we didn't have anyway. But the functionality score is just gone, and that's a crying shame. Nowhere are the problems more apparent than the main boss. Not only are his tornadoes exceptionally buggy, but he's also a severe anticlimax who spams too many tornadoes for his own good. By contrast, Stall Woman's actual fight was a treat. The concept behind her abilities really should be frustrating, but she's extremely creative, and the survival aspect is so fun that I'm okay with her hoarding 3 tokens. Her time freeze can lead to some cheap hits, but otherwise, the fight is fair, and by the time I got to judging it, the fight was one of the most functional parts of the stage. Incidentally, you can kill her. It requires precise timing with her damage weakness, or using her secret weakness hidden out in the storage room. But pulling it off is so satisfying. I really just love this boss fight. It's a shame the level is so busted. Yeah, functionality score. That's something. As much as I don't like ragging on technical issues, it's not exactly something that can be avoided here. This was easily the stage where I experienced the most glitches out of any in the contest, to the point where it severely and negatively impacted any sort of enjoyment I got out of it. Just to list off all the bugs I personally found. Stall Woman never followed me the first time I played this level, so I missed out on her central gimmick and was left extremely confused until repeat playthroughs. Even when she did follow me, Stall Woman would sometimes turn around midway through a screen transition and thus stopped following me. Some of the tornado spawners aren't properly displayed on screen during the segment leading up to the second token. There's a pit leading up to the boss that just straight up has platform collision on it. You can kill Stall Woman by using Tornado Blow and thus break the intended point of the fight completely. Very major oversight indeed. The boss music doesn't play for heavy after fighting Stall Woman. If we look past the bugs, the stage itself is decent-ish. Most of it involves moving platforms over pits and contending with some rather unique enemies. The tiny versions of mini-bosses are certainly fun to look at and fight, but I wouldn't say they totally salvage the level either. The idea of Stall Woman following you through the stages set up periodic blockades is a novel idea, but it's not executed well due to the aforementioned glitchy nature of the level. All that aside, we have the end bosses. Heavy, the one past the boss doors proper, is a very rough fight, mostly due to you being pulled up to the ceiling almost constantly by those tornado generators. If you look past those and focus on the boss himself, all he really seems to do is jump, summon Kamigoros, and not much else. Granted, a boss doesn't necessarily need to be complex in order to be good, and I actually really like the idea of using a stage gimmick to support the fight in some way. But when the most difficult part of said fight is trying to hit the boss thanks to how awkward the gimmick makes things, I think that's a sign this battle should have been reworked a bit. Meanwhile, Stall Woman's fight is just bizarre, though not in a bad way. It's an interesting concept, but one that's easily broken thanks to the aforementioned tornado blow oversight. And really, it's just easier to do that than actually go through with the full survival battle and rack up enough points for keys, the mechanics of which only seem to be explained afterward. Given how unconventional this fight is, it really seems like the kind of thing you should give to the player beforehand. It's a relatively confusing end to a level that, while it has intriguing ideas, was in dire need of more polish. Oh man, that sounds like it could have been a really cool fight to see. And the tornadoes are so glitchy.
Yeah.
Wait 1000. This is a very bizarre stage, for the wrong reason, because it's also kind of janky in some parts. There are these inconsistent wind currents. Sometimes you fall through it completely without even getting pushed up slightly, while jumping into the current from below warps you up weirdly. There's also one point where you're forced to use weapons in order to progress because the downward wind currents straight up refuse to function. Stall Woman, the robot master with the big funny shield, is kind of buggy where she can get stuck in places. Her shield has a solid hitbox so you can stand on top of it, but you will fall and clip through it when she tries to jump, taking damage in the process. Having her around as you go through the stage is also just kind of awkward. It's not conveyed well whether she's a friend or foe, so that's the confusion of what purpose she serves. A moving roadblock would be a sensible conclusion, but half the time she doesn't even block your way. The tiny mini-bosses are a cute idea, but also very annoying to deal with. Somewhat tanky foes with erratic attack patterns, and you're placed basically everywhere around the level. The tiny ring guy is the worst offender, as it retains a small hitbox while the rings still deflect shots. Good thing Laser Trident can pierce. The ladder room with the hot dogs? No. The curving nature of their fire shots makes it very hard to determine the safe spots. Then there's the boss fight, where you'd expect to deal with Stall Woman, the person who's been there taunting you the whole time, but instead you fight a big lad. The fight consists of you dealing with the wind currents raising up to the ceiling to crush you, while the turtles frantically fly all over, making it impossible to avoid taking damage or even fight the guy that sits well and fine on the floor you are desperately trying to reach. Stall Mega Man while we finish building a level is a spectacular premise. What I wanted were construction-themed aesthetics, deliberately slapdash challenges, and a thoroughly silly atmosphere. What I got was this. I don't know what this level is. The first enemy I saw, Stall Woman, behaved so erratically that I could only conclude she wasn't programmed properly. Soon I was inexplicably fighting mini-bosses, which are awesome, and riding everyone on tornadoes, which are not so awesome when they unexpectedly crush you against the ceiling. I also got lost accidentally backtracking through whole sections that looked and acted like the way forward. I fought some random boss whose excessive tornadoes behaved differently from all the others, and whose music broke when I left the chamber and came back. I had to piece the narrative together through secret NPCs whose dialogues needs a proofread. I spent entirely too long deciphering belated instructions to make sense of the exhausting Stall Woman fight. Clear communication is more important than snazzy graphics, modestly well-designed challenges, outrageously clever Power Stoner enemies, or anything else this level has going for it. A level simply doesn't work if players can get all the way to the end without fully comprehending any of what they just experienced. This is one such level. I'll spare you the miscellaneous complaints about how the final token screen should be able to scroll, etc. Real problems are with planning and time management. The Sparkman is to be taken literally. Playtesting as well. If you had removed Stall Woman, made the level totally linear, and renamed it to something like Mini Boss Madness, I would have had a blast. And I would have recognized sooner that the boss is actually another thematically relevant hybrid like Power Stoner, and not some robot I misidentified as Stall. The level has some relatively neat ideas going for it, but the end product feels unfinished and half-baked. Clearly need a lot more work. I think this plays more like an early beta version of the level, as it is clearly playable but very glitchy and never starts to get going after introducing its set pieces. Stall Woman, your primary gimmick in the stage, wasn't implemented very well. On our first time through the level, it broke in the first room and never appeared again. Even when she worked, it wasn't clear how she worked and what the point was. If you can replace her gimmick with a wall and have the level function better, there are clearly some issues with it. There's a confused, unnecessary mess of a gimmick which actually harms the experience of the player. I really like the mini versions of the mini-bosses. They're a very cute idea, and in several places created challenges that are rarely seen in Mega Man levels because the mini-boss mechanics are not able to be used frequently. For example, the Hot Dog Ladder Room was a nice twist on an ordinary timing challenge, with the arcing projectiles being an unusual obstacle. The reimagining of the Kamegoro Maker as a robot master is certainly novel. And aside from the gaps between tornadoes being too small, it was a nice, simple end to the stage. The fight with Stall Woman is just as confusing as the rest of her implementation, and ends up being a significant drag on the end of the stage. The idea of surviving might have been interesting if the times given to the player were reasonable, but the jump between 1 and 5 minutes is absurd. There should have been an option of 2. The boss's patterns feel all over the place because they seem to change based on random damage amounts, though I can't be sure of this. A good boss is one you can work out with a bit of effort, and this one was too confusing to achieve that. The stage is incredibly buggy. Between Stall Woman breaking, tornadoes shunting the player constantly, solid pits in multiple places, mini-boss rooms that do not lock the player in so you can accidentally leave during the fight, inconsistent tornado spawner tiles, not good. The aesthetics of the stage are nice, with well-drawn and animated sprites and a good-looking tile set. However, there is virtually no atmosphere to the level. It feels very generic, and given how quiet the music was, the sound effects got very grating very quickly, especially the high-wee. Oh. I don't know why I bothered showing up for work. What are you even doing here? We need to control the weather just in case, they say. Well, it's never not cold here, and that's all they want. Maybe one day they'll all go crazy and decide they want this place to be a swimming pool instead. Maybe that's my destiny. Hornet Man got a new stage. Anything? Nothing.
Oh no.
Boy,
One token.
Hornet Man. Ugh. What? Ah! To the left, to the... Whoa! Oh!
No.
The beehive broke. What? What hit? Oh, those are death spikes. Okay. No clock, huh?
Why? What? Oh, do I have to beat this thing? Why the screen transition? What? Hey, you know, I can't exactly hit it when it's up there. Thanks. I guess that was. Oh,
what?
Thanks. That sure is something, I guess. Oh, thanks. That okay. Definitely an early attempt at a level here.
The background needs some clouds or something.
Level needs a lot of stuff. But I mean, you can tell it's kind of like an amateur attempt here. It's just Boy! I mean, I'm not gonna knock it for that, it's just very obvious. Ow. Okay.
There's the clock.
Yeah, great. Excessive is certainly a name for this.
Fleeble! So where's the token?
That's where I was just about to say. Woohoo? Are you trying to introduce the mechanic, or what's going on?
See, now here, the Brightman Grasshopper makes sense in this level. Kind of. Ugh.
What?
Aha! I gotta check.
Duh. Hopefully we don't have to redo the level for the frickin' token. That would be... Too many bees!
Seriously, where the heck is the token? Where's the token? The compass was leading us in this direction. What the heck?
Well...
Oh, is the stage not over?
Maybe
Also,
not.
you're not
This...
Hornet Man.
Oh, this is making the boss even worse. I hate this boss to begin with. I still think she's definitely one of the worst, like, bad bosses.
Yeah, okay, stage isn't over.
Okay.
There's a token.
Okay. Ah, are we gonna have to fight her again? Of course we are.
It's
No.
Horseman. Hornet Man. Aren't you, like, actually weak to tornado? I don't have any tornado blow left. Woo!
Okay. That sure was a level.
It's Hornet Man stage, but different. At least I think it is. Yeah, not a lot of creativity points to award here. The gimmicks are pretty much the same as regular Hornet Man. And the one difference, the Grasshopper, doesn't feel like it changes a whole lot. As for the enemies, the vast majority of Hornet Man's silly and quirky enemies were replaced with bees. Lots and lots of bees. Okay, so I didn't know any better. I think Dr. Bees made this level. Anyway, it's different from the original stage, sure, but it's considerably less interesting. For some more specific details of concern, Hanabiran isn't the sort of enemy you want to use 5 times or more in a single level. While it never gets the irritation a lot of people get from the original flower, owed to what seems to be lower HP, it's still excessive, especially when there's 2 of them. More importantly, there's a few glitches on the Honeywoman route, including some missing solids and a suicidal boss. Outside of that, the level's inoffensive but not great. It has a difficulty curve to it, and it strives to have a decent variety of what it's got, but it's remarkably boring and probably longer than necessary. I'd rather play the original stage. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't at least a little intrigued when I first saw the name of the stage. I don't find Hornet Man's original level to be all that exciting, so I was interested to see a different take that would hopefully improve upon the original's shortcomings. Unfortunately, I left the stage feeling more or less the same way I did about the official version. The main issue I have here was that not enough was done with the gimmicks. To the extent that in some ways it does even less than Hornet Man's original level. Each one is used in roughly the same way, but with incredibly minor variations. It's unfortunate considering how much potential the Bozakuras and rolling platforms have. Yet nothing interesting was done with them. The only thing that really sees any notable use here is Hanabiran, and that's mainly due to him showing up way too much throughout the whole stage, although thankfully they seem to have reduced health. Aside from that, along with the lack of collision on the ceiling tiles in a room after being Honeywoman, there's not much else to talk about with this one. The actual level design itself is average, and the lack of creativity with accompanying gimmicks make the stage end up making the stage pretty forgettable in the long run. Dollar Store Hornet Man. It's Hornet Man, but with more bees. That's pretty much it. Can't say I'm particularly too impressed with this one. It's not a bad stage by all means, it just doesn't do enough to make itself stand out for being just a sloppy rehearsal of Hornet Man's stage. The grasshoppers from Brightman did add a bit of flavor to the stage, but they weren't prominent enough to change the overall dynamic. The mini-boss spawning prevents screen transitions. And it seems that it's not intentional. It's not conveyed to the player enough that they have to defeat the mini-bosses in order to progress. It's especially rough at the ending section, which is a long room. If you choose to ignore the guide at the beginning, you will then stumble on the hard truth when you reach the boss door and are not able to open it. The boss is just Hornet Man. Look, gasp! There's really no surprise there. There's a secret battle with Honeywoman, who really isn't really much of a secret to find, considering I just stumbled on the path to her without even realizing on my first playthrough. Ironically, finding the bee NPC who was hinting at her presence was more hidden than Honeywoman herself. Not to be outdone by Cutman in his new warehouse, Hornet Man also went out and got a new stage. I've never been the biggest fan of Hornet Man, the boss or the stages, so I like the idea of a remake. This remake doesn't change my opinion, but it's not a bad effort. Despite sticking too closely to the source material in some regards, gimmick use, mini-boss and boss room architecture, aesthetics, the level has its own identity. There's a cohesive theme, a steady difficulty curve, a focused variety of challenges, although perhaps a bit heavy on Hanabiran, and adequately spaced checkpoints. All the big picture stuff is in good shape. However, the level doesn't hold up as well under closer scrutiny. Players may be in for a deadly surprise if they mistake the first pair of spikes for background decoration, or enter certain screens from the wrong angle, or assume that the only bottomless pit is obviously a screen transition. Players may also get confused or stuck if they fail to defeat Hanabiran before reaching the end of the scrolling section. Several screens have nearly decent challenges that just need some finessing. For example, the dual Hanabiran mini-boss, anything with the painfully evil hornets. But the Honeywoman path needs an overhaul. The one-way transition and checkpoint make it look like you missed a secret, plus it cuts short the challenge arc with the crickets. The entire ceiling is missing collision. The difficult and interesting fight with Honeywoman makes Hornet Man feel disappointing and redundant a few screens later. The ideas are good, the length and pacing are just right, and for a toss set I'm not wild about, the graphics look pretty nice. More risks with novel combinations, for example Hanabiran and Bozakura, and more attention to detail, perhaps via more extensive or diverse playtesting would go a long way. Recreating a Robot Master stage and entering a level creation contest with it is already an uphill battle. And unfortunately, the stage does not add enough revisions or novelty to the original. For the most part, Hornet Man did most of the stage first, and actually did it better. Especially the Hornet roll platforms, those are wasted in the level. Having almost every enemy as a bee might have been thematic, but it really cut down on the enemy variety in the stage. As the stage is garden related, you could have added in some of the other insect-themed enemies, either instead of or on top of your selection. The entire thing became predictable, and the hornets from the WonderSwan game were a particular nuisance here. There were a couple of specific frustrations. One is the first spikes, which are attached to decorations that they blend totally into the background, which the player can walk into easily. Another is the third grasshopper, which times very awkwardly with the hornets. You cannot hit them while the grasshopper is on the ground, but when the grasshopper jumps, the hornets dive and hit the player. Oftentimes they can get very difficult to avoid them. I really like the idea of turning Hanabiran into a normal enemy, although it did still act as a mini-boss and lock screen transitions. Ignoring the flower is basically a death sentence in the last rooms to get yourself stuck. Still, its lowered health does make the fight against two of them alongside the clock arm much less frustrating, but still a bit irksome. Using the flower clock does make the Honey Woman fight more interesting. Unfortunately, the stage then ends on a bog-standard Hornet Man finish, which is quite the anticlimax. Fighting Honey Woman skips the final room entirely, so adding 2 paths to the end doesn't help the stage in the slightest, really.
Shape Woman.
By Wither of Earth. 3. Paper!
Oh,
And Sheepman Cursor.
kind of hurts the eyes. Ow, that's a lot of damage. Somebody turn on night mode!
Who's ever heard of black paper?
It exists.
Oh, these do exist in the dev kit. Or they were recreated, which is wow.
Kind of one of the sprites I had a pain in the butt drawing for.
Wait, I want to see them again when you, the next time we find one of these. Ah! he looks a little like he's made of paper.
Who?
Bastion.
Like he's made of paper?
He's too flat or something when he's going around.
I mean, so does Mega Man.
Wait, why can't I bust her?
What?
Why am I stuck in charging?
I don't know. Can you use anything?
Nope, I'm dead.
What? That sure was an odd glitch. Oh, this boss is annoying.
Doesn't Break Dash like one-shot him or something?
I mean, Break Dash also breaks when you get screen shaky.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe I noticed, why did you add extra health to these? The way to get rid of them was supposed to be the charge shot. Well, thank you, game, for lag right then and there to get shot. But yeah, these things only have enough health to charge shot them, so you don't have... It's like an option to not deal with all the nonsense, but I guess... This is gonna be a long stage, isn't it? Oh, you gonna keep up! Yeah.
That happened.
Whee! G.
Okay, sure. Just sheep man blocks now. Gigga bigga wiggy. What? Two, three. Okay, sure, just free token.
I was trying to see through the kitty. No!
No! I got bamboozled.
For shape man, the shape woman or whatever, there sure is. Hi, Eddie.
Go, go, go!
They one-shot you? That's just dumb. They don't even look like normal spikes. God, those things do way too much damage. Yay for lag! I was trying to slide and it like didn't slide, like just perfect to count me off there. This section's sure gonna be annoying.
Maybe we should rush jet over it. Actually, it won't work.
Why do they have to be death spikes? This is dumb! Seriously, and we have to keep redoing this over and over again. It's just delaying the player for dumb reasons.
Ugh!
That is a really hard, like, race to the end, too.
Yeah.
I don't mind ignoring that, dude. I still do not get why you up this thing's health. Like, why? You just want it to be more annoying than normal, or what? Oh, I hate these things.
Yeah. And water now.
So it seems. Ow.
The stage is a little on the long side, isn't it?
Yep. And inconsistent types of challenges and weirdness, it's just...
Pretty consistent enemy usage, though. What?
How? But how are we supposed to know that's there? I hate
Real
that
nice
so
game.
much. Just absolute freaking terrible there. A hidden place that you don't have any way to know exists, and then you're gonna pull something like that in it? That's just not... That's not good. Ay, 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 ay. Like, how are you supposed to know that's even there?
There was... Actually, I don't know what, I don't know what appears there and what would appear without the compass.
Nothing appears there, it's just an empty spot.
That's a problem. What?! Dang it! What the heck?
Do I look like I know what a JPEG is? That is some... What in the world are you? That is some crustacular background.
I was wondering when he would show up. Shape Woman is just waiting in the next room. She's been training, waiting for a chance to battle you in the simulator we created together. She's gotten pretty good. I'd be careful if I were you. You don't want to end up getting reckless.
Why do you have boobs?
Because she's Shape Woman. Ow.
Oh, this is awful. This is awful. This is awful. Why?
Use the trident.
Oh, this
actually,
is
wait.
just...
Wait to die and then use the trident. Is this boss music from The Messenger?
Yes, I think so. Ugh. Of course I had to die there. This boss is terrible. Like, wow. Come on, it takes forever to be able to hit her.
Yeah,
That was bad. That boss, you do not have your boss with a shield attack that lasts like 2 minutes! That is poor frickin' boss management. Discharge Man did that too and he sucked.
Well now, that's an unusual visual design. Loose leaf background and shape block foreground is an effective way to create an identity here, and it does it without sacrificing ease of use. That said, I was disappointed when it transitioned from loose leaf to JPEG Space Nebula.
Hey! I'm not the only one noticing the JPEG. Do I look like I know what a JPEG is?
Keeping that aesthetic consistent would have been a good idea. It's the most noticeable part of the level, especially since the music does the place no favors. Why would that consistency be important? Because
JPEG Man, where the level just gradually, like you keep running the level through a JPEG compression as you go on, including JPEG Man, until you're just fighting like a crusty JPEG mess.
Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff, the level. Because while the aesthetic might be unique, the level itself is boring. The majority of Shape Woman is one of two things. Long, simple rooms with a handful of specifically shaped enemies, whether they be circles or squares, or waiting on tornado batteries for spikes to go away. There's other concepts here, with the sheep block and cutting wheel remaining genuinely interesting, but the majority feels very samey, with the vast majority having little of interest. Considering the level is over 40 screens long when the average is less than 30, this is a weak point. There's a lot that feels like filler and easily could have been cut down. Unfortunately, Shape Woman herself is much the same as her level. Besides her rather baffling design, her boss fight is extremely tedious. Shield bosses are among the hardest to get right, I'll grant, but making a shield that she takes apart piece by tiny piece, and then making it invincible to most of the weapons, including the shield-piercing laser trident, that's one of the worst shields I've seen in a long time, and I encourage players to cheese it. She's a fair fight, ultimately, but she's long and tedious, making a boring conclusion to an already unimpressive level. Overall, not a fan. Honestly, I'm kind of struggling on what to say here. To an extent, there's certain things about this level that are memorable, like the visuals, for instance. They're very odd, to put it mildly. And not exactly in a good way, given the last few screens use highly compressed JPEGs as their backgrounds. As for the level design itself, I honestly found the stage to be rather boring, mostly on account of just how much waiting was involved when there were certain gimmicks showed up. Chief among these are the tornado batteries and Yoku blocks and spikes. They're an interesting combination in theory, but can make for some tedious moments in execution. The enemies only add on to this as some of them need more shots than usual to take down. All that being said, there was one segment that stood out to me. The part that required you to race a floor of sheepman blocks at the end of the room before they all disappeared. That room was genuinely interesting and engaging, and I'm a little disappointed there weren't more setups like it in order to offset the slower-paced sections of the level. As for Shape Woman herself, she unfortunately shares the main issue I have with the level. Her fight ends up being tedious due to her shield having way too much uptime, with not enough interesting attacks in between to justify it. I get the feeling that the idea was to make this something of an endurance fight here, where her shield is slowly chipped away as it goes on. While that would potentially make for a unique boss, there's just not enough variety here to warrant her fight taking so long, to the point where I can't blame anyone who uses magnetic shockwave to speed up the process. Overall, for as quirky as this stage tries to be, there's sadly just not that much substance to it. Inappropriate! Can't say I'm impressed with this one. It's a very basic stage with many gimmicks attached to it that would make it stand out. It doesn't help that most of them are default engine gimmicks. If you were to change the aesthetics of the stage and keep everything all the same, it wouldn't have been much different. The only coherent thing going on that fits the whole shape theme is the various shapes embedded into the tile set, and that's just not enough to resonate with me. The only consistent gimmick of the stage is timing your jump with the tornado battery through Yoku spikes. Unfortunately, the stage also never expands on it, as it's basically the same deal every time. Just at the timing coming a little more strict and more spikes through a gotcha moment when the player doesn't expect the second set of spikes to appear right when they think it's safe to go through. The rest of the stage is unexpectedly rather bland, mostly consisting of basic platforms while you shoot down non-threatening enemies and fight some random mini-bosses on occasion. Some of the sections could have probably been trimmed down a bit while keeping bits like the section with the sheepman blocks so that the stage wouldn't feel boring at times. Music is also a bit on the meh side. The flute instrument gets quite obnoxious after hearing the same short loop repeatedly. Interesting design for the boss. She's shapes and a woman, but she certainly doesn't look like a robot master. Also, her circular features jiggle. Real mature there. She's also a shield-based boss, and unfortunately failing big time on the shield boss stereotype. Seriously, that shield lasts for quite some time. Her attacks are also, dare I say, pathetic. She throws pieces of the shield back at you. Watch out, Mega Man. Shapes! At least it means she's leaving openings for you to actually damage her.
You know, I could figure how to make a Shape Woman more work is like summoning the various shapes, and the various shapes move according to how they're shaped. Like, the triangle could just be
or
like
what
a sphere.
Or what if she
the
summons a
circle
bunch
can
of...
bounce around.
What
The
if...
octagon can just be like a giant stop sign she tries to hit you with.
Yeah. What if she summoned a bunch of like Tetris attack blocks or something at the top of the screen, and you had to fit into a hole generated... You had to fit into a hole that's made when 3 of them line up and disappear.
Maybe, yeah. Be a pretty... it might delay the boss a little too much with that. It makes the fight drag on along. It's a neat idea, but you want them to go faster in Mega Man, I think.
Whoops. Everything was right there to make this level a winner. Just group together enemies and gimmicks with a similar shape, match the foreground graphics and architecture to the shape in question, and maybe adjust the enemy sprites to be color coordinated for good measure. Save mixing and matching shapes for the second half, and don't ruin the elementary school notebook aesthetic by soaking it in water and sending it to outer space. As it stands, this level is a parade of independent enemies whose unifying theme is, "We have a shape!" Flame mini-bosses and halfway decent gimmick puzzles occasionally break up the monotony of shooting one thing directly in front of you. I'll give credit for the inspired use of rotating platforms with Yoku spikes, and partial credit for the strikes with cutting wheels. Their invincibility and lethality could have been communicated better. The final stretch is a non sequitur. I mean, there's a film called The Shape of Water, but weeding through spike piles is alright. The boss fight is fair. Larger or more frequent gaps in her shield would make it even better. The level as a whole is visually distinctive, but any given section is a bland open space. So many slopes, so little impact on the challenge. With aesthetics that rarely have anything to do with the gameplay. Moving left through an area with right-facing arrows legitimately annoys me. Shapewoman herself has memorable design with an intro jiggle we could have done without. I like the atmosphere created by the music. It fits well. There are other pros, e.g. thoughtfully adjusted enemy health values, and cons, e.g. potentially getting oneself stuck in a ceiling. But the big thing for me is all the missed potential. Another level, it doesn't do anything particularly egregiously wrong, just a few nuisances here and there. Still, for all its basic nature, it does the job and does have some highlights. First impressions are rather good. It's a weird aesthetic, I think I'm partial to it, kinda. It kinda overall works, even if it is rather simple. Enemies, even the stock ones, are on theme. Unfortunately, it does all kind of fall apart by the end, though. From the level layouts just getting rid of the interesting block types, to the last few rooms looking rather dreadful and ill-fitting, and even the water segment just kind of works against the storybook feel. Using the stock dev kit Yoku blocks rather than something themed to the stage is also sheer laziness. Hell, I would have accepted just a recolor. Gray looks too much like the background. Not a fan of the music either. By the end of the stage it really started to grate on the ears and it ended up getting itself muted. This stage handles Sheepman blocks well, and when they're combined with the Game Boy Buzzsaw enemy, I'm not too afraid to admit it killed me a few times, but I liked it. It's clever. I'm surprised by the combination of Tornado Man platforms and Yoku spikes. These shouldn't work at all, but it felt very snappy. For its strengths, I think the final segment has a few too many issues that compound it. That's the worst checkpoint placement in the game. Before a dull yet rather lengthy Sheepman block section, followed by a high amount of instant death and a token puzzle, which I'd have liked better if failure didn't result in such a tedious trek back. Finally, let's speak of bosses, and I don't think the Mega Man 9 mid-bosses added anything here. No changes, nothing novel. You didn't really need two now, did you? I appreciate being able to just walk past Passworder, though, if you don't want it already collected its token. Now, Shape Woman is ultimately a poor send-off. Waiting 5,000 years for the shield to eventually maybe kinda, would you please, oh pretty please, break apart already so I blast your face with more than the occasional rare lemon? It's made all the more tedious because she doesn't really do anything of note. Very basic, rather unoriginal attacks I've seen as side pieces during better bosses. The sound she makes prior to the charge reminds me of the Tim Allen and all the grunting the guy did in that Home Improvement show. It's the type of thing that crosses your mind when there's nothing else to think of.
Snowman! Must be plowing snow to, get it away from places, but I was called here to help shovel more snow into this lab. These scientists must really care about the aesthetic. The heist.
Oh boy.
3 tokens.
Ow. Wake up, laptop. That looks dangerous. Okay. What?
We weren't supposed to do that.
Huh. Interesting use of a gimmick. Woo! Checkpoint. Nope. You done goofed. Okay. I like this gimmick.
Yeah, that's not bad. Ah! Well, that part was
That, yeah, don't put an enemy, like, right in front of the player as they, yeah, I don't think you're gonna make that work.
And there's not really any way to avoid the stupid Met there. That is poor enemy placement.
Yeah.
Putting Mets immediately in the screen so they shoot you when you pop in. Whatever. Ah! Lag, please! Hell! Woo.
What? What is this, Metal Gear Solid 3? Oh, there's... What?! What was down there that you wanted to see?
I was just seeing if any of this even made any sense, but...
It doesn't. Also, you nearly died again.
Seems like it's gonna be another long stage. Whoa! Yay for turtle.
No, 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 no. Ah, I'm dead. You shouldn't have jumped on the green ones.
That terrible enemy placement again! That seems to be a theme as much as the heist here is, jeez.
Oh, I guess you have to jump. Okay, don't jump on the red ones, I guess. Not that it matters now, because we got the token! Just gonna face tank through the boss like it ain't no thing. Okay. Okay. Ah. Jewel Man! What? Do we go left or right?
I think maybe right?
Right? Yeah, right seems like it's the harder path. Oops. That mostly worked. Ow.
But now I can't help you out.
Oof.
I don't really think there's enough timing for that to really pull off well.
Whoops!
Uh-oh, multiplayer glitch there.
I don't know if that was a glitch. I jumped to try to hit the telly, but it despawned.
I think both of us moving the block at the same time caused that. Ah! Or no. Well, I'm dead. There's nothing I could do there.
Lag, please. I need brush coil.
Silent kaboom until we get that fixed.
Really?
Yep. Susie's been learning from Nina ninja bombs.
Okay. Oh, good. Time to die
Boss?
immediately to the boss. Yeah, this is the boss. Oh no, it's Punk. Easily the most unpredictable boss in Battle Network 3. Those have a pretty easy, well, easy enough pattern to deal with.
Yeah, he's kind of like an easier Metal Man. He just has a little boing boing.
And rolling up into a spike ball.
And the shorter platform there makes it much easier to fight him.
Yes. The heist! 5% time penalty. Oh no, Mega Man's breaking a law and robbing banks. What will his father think of him? Well, actually, I'm not clear. Are we breaking in or are we trying to stop the heist? Punk makes it a bit unclear since he's not exactly the police type. Anyway, this level does 3 things that I really like. First are the thin Mega Man 9 lasers. This has some of the best lasers I've seen in a while. Not only are they thematically appropriate, but they make excellent puzzle elements for digging into the bank. The second one is Bomb Throne. Normally,
We were breaking into Dr. Regal's bank. We had to stop him from making more evil coin.
Yeah. Normally these are a complete pushover, but if you go for the charge shot, more often than not you expose a laser in the process. That forces a not-so-trigger-happy mindset, and it allows Bomb Throne to be a genuine threat. The final one is Sheep Blocks. They don't show up much, but that puzzle for that E-Tank plus the Dakone battle means they put on a show regardless. Unfortunately, the rest of the level is a bit weak. The Met sections are okay, but there's at least one Met that if it hits you, you fly back into the previous screen. Since it fires instantly, the result is a terrible combination. The Pendulum sections are really neat, but the tellies are too easily scrolled off screen. Finally, there's a number of functionality goofs. There's several rooms where the camera stop just doesn't work. Not game-breaking, but very noticeable. More importantly, that E-Tank sheep puzzle, if you decide to run back to reset it, the lasers from the previous room will leak into this room, making it all but impossible to get the E-Tank and dealing a ton of damage. That happened in my blind run. It wasn't pleasant. As a whole, the level is fun enough. It's definitely not perfect, owing to its glitches and scrolling missteps, but I appreciate it nonetheless. This level doesn't really feel as fleshed out as it could have been. There's certainly some good ideas in here, that's for sure. As for the execution, well... First, I get what you're going for here with the Mega Man 9 lasers. It's a decent application of the gimmick, creating pseudo-puzzle rooms where you can't destroy too many blocks or risk taking unavoidable damage from the laser. The sections where you... oops. Need to use the Jewel Man swings to block off the lasers are also a neat idea, and it shows there was genuine effort put into this to try to keep the player on their toes and engaged. But that being said, those ideas can only really take you so far if they're not fleshed out enough. I think the biggest issue here is the stage is way too easy. The core ideas and gimmick combinations are there, but it never evolved beyond introductory level threats. I can only think of 2 instances in this stage where I was ever remotely in danger. The first being a setup with a metal that can easily knock you back into the previous screen you came from, since he's way too close after the screen transition. And then there's a third token, which I honestly still don't know how to get without taking damage. Besides those 2 moments, the stage ended up being a bit on the boring and easy side. It definitely wasn't helped by the lacking aesthetic details, such as the blank background and the boss doors being normal transitions, or the fact that Punk's fight was completely neutered in difficulty due to the low floor that lets you easily evade everything he does. All that being said, I still think you got a solid set of ideas here. The Mega Man 9 lasers are critically underlooked gimmicks, so this sort of level concept is ripe for experimentation. It just needs way more polish to shine through. I need a medic bag! Looks to be a stage designed around manipulating the environment in order to pass through. A pretty creative concept, actually. Laser and dust blocks make for a really neat synergy with how the player needs to carve out a passage and protect against the laser. Definitely the highlight of the stage. The swinging platform has always been awkward to me because of how it doesn't carry over the momentum when you make a jump. It's not really suited for horizontal platforming. The third token wound up giving me a lot of troubles. Having a telespawner there is a little too much. The stage has some odd empty rooms like the one with all the teleporter pads. I can't tell if it's atmospheric reasons or the author didn't have time to implement something.
Dog, please. Ugh.
Same goes to the alcoves on the edges of the beginning few screens, which end up leading nowhere but an inconvenience. Could use some backgrounds to fill out the empty black void to gain some aesthetic points. Punk is really trivialized with a little safety alcove on the ground, as he can pretty much consistently dodge his ball form attack by just sliding in it. I assume that awkward architecture, absent screen boundaries, hazardous screen transitions, and inconsistent collision objectives are part of the building's security system, intended to confuse, injure, and softlock would-be thieves. On paper, this reads like a typical heist movie. Sneak into a building, avoid the defense lasers, overpower the guards, loot the vault, escape to the getaway vehicle, deal with an unexpected setback at the last minute. In practice, the theming isn't assertive enough to make this feel like a heist, so the whole thing falls apart for me. I can't tell from the graphics what kind of building we're infiltrating, and the music doesn't seem to fit a heist unless someone's already tripped the alarm. Jump blocks, disappearing blocks, and swinging platforms actually work really well with lasers, at least when the player isn't being blindsided by sudden and improperly introduced threats. But these dissimilar gimmicks muddle the aesthetics even further. The Coney is a suitable vault guard that ties in with the laser theme, but none of the other enemies feel inherently like building security, nor do they have any visual or functional commonalities to suggest they're working together to guard the valuables. It's not even clear what valuables are to target here. Are you after the energy element, or the tokens, or the piddly little bolts on pedestals? Do we even need Hammer Joe's getaway vehicle unless it's meant to be a police car if we teleport out at the end? If I don't know what I'm stealing, or from whom I'm stealing it, this heist looks an awful lot like a series of innovative but inelegant laser puzzles divided into short sections throughout a random building, culminating in a random sight gag and a random boss fight, which is a shame because I was really looking forward to Ocean's 8-Bit or the Thomas Light affair. Huh. Do we use the music I used for a 24-hour submission X Factory in the dev kit or something? It's from such an obscure arcade game. If I had a nickel for every time this piece of video game music keeps showing up in this context, I'd had 2 nickels. It's weird that it happened twice. Anyway, short level, and it was reasonably fun, although rather tricky earlier in the destructible block segments, at least for me, since I need to use rapid fire and auto charge to assist with the wrist problems. That's not on you, just made it rather awkward to play. While I like the atmosphere of the stage, it feels unfinished and untested at times. There's a lot of object placement errors in the stage. This results in broken doors, camera boundaries, even the boss showing up inside the floor. Makes the whole stage look and feel rather sloppy. The tiling is reasonable, but some areas use what were foreground tiles as background, but thankfully in an area that isn't remotely dangerous. But then the reverse happens. Background, foreground, background, it hurts readability. What is rather irritating are enemies placed next to screen boundaries. Especially glaring is that one Met that appears in point-blank range of you and therefore keeps knocking you back. Yep, that's just cute. On the subject of the boss, the new room layout makes Punk even easier as you no longer need to dodge most of his attempts at crossing the room. Outside of questionable enemy placement, the stage does not feel fairly well designed. It's not a bad stage, it's still overall below average for what you'd expect for a Mega Man level. It still just needed more time in the oven.
Oven man.
Oh no, it's Ivan Chilsky, also from Battle Network 4. He's Coldman's operator.
Oh jeez. What are you doing? No,
At this
no,
time,
do not get my
we're
scissors.
always coming up with new ways to utilize ice. My focus is ice and its relation with computers. For example, utilizing an icy mist to cool down overheating laptops. Perhaps one day we can make some sort of cybernetic ice. Think of the applications of that. That was not a rhetorical statement, it was a request. Can you help me think of an application? I don't know, freezing the weather control system in Russia and sending a blizzard all the way to Natopia.
Uh-oh.
Oh no. What was the name of this level?
Identity Man.
Identity Man. In. What? Okay.
I mean, I guess Bastion did get a power similar to this from the weird plant monster thing, but...
How do you get out of these?
Just use the weapon select.
Yeah.
Wait, why did we lose half our health?
That didn't work. It's Yoku block time! You can't even go up in the shield attacker. What's the point of that? Oh, I can't use my buster when you're in that thing.
What? That's weird.
Up there. Okay.
Uh-oh, can you not...
What?
Oh! It disabled a bunch of things.
What? I still can't use my bus.
Oh no.
What?
Apparently, we have to beat that and take it for...
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I can't use my weapons at all. Can you charge up?
No.
Okay! Well, good thing we got a skip gate. Good thing we have a skip gate.
Yeah, I don't think we can actually get the tokens in this level. It's an interesting concept, but it's like it's not working.
At least I have my buster.
This isn't like great for multiplayer either.
Can
Maybe I
that
gotta use
hit
this?
it? Yes, okay.
I guess.
So what was the point of the...
Just
giving you a flying enemy to work with, I guess?
I guess.
Oops.
I can't shoot! You can shoot, huh? I cannot now? Now I can.
Bird!
Chocobo up. Oh no, I became Chocobo thing.
Yay! Ow. Oh. Ow. Eh. Up. Up there, huh?
But how?
Magnet.
Oh, I need.
What? Oh, the Sakugane? Okay.
It's an interesting concept. It just kind of glitchy.
Sure.
Very glitchy.
At least they're not taking damage from any of these guys.
Well, how am I supposed to make that jump?
Get out of the pogo stick.
I guess it was.
Oops. That didn't work.
There's a a lot of glitchiness to this.
And it despawned. Ugh. Hey Eddie. I can't bust her.
You glitch fest. Oh, we're supposed to use the bunny. I guess.
How?
I'm not sure. Hold on. Come back here so I can get that bunny too. Oh, it doesn't respawn. Quit dinging the bell, damn it! There's no reason for you to go out. There you go. I don't know.
Doesn't help that this thing's movement is just so jank. Like, I literally cannot tell what is movement jank and what is parsec lagging out.
I could give it a try if you hop out of the bunny, I guess.
I'm trying, but it's not working.
I don't know. You can't. Oh no!
I can't get out.
Oh no!
We're just gonna have to get this later.
Oh man.
And now I'm dead. And you're a bunny.
Well, I guess that's one way to get it later. There is definitely some weird movement jank, yes. Oh god!
Yeah, I told you. And even landing directly on it did nothing. Okay. No!
I don't think we can get it. I don't think we can actually get it.
Completely inaccessible, huh? Unless you bring in like a bomb throwing enemy.
I guess.
Like
this dude? Yeah, that we can't actually bring over here. Quit dinging the bell for no frickin' reason, dog.
I'm stuck. And now I can't bust her.
Jump in it and pop out, and it should reset it.
I can't pop out.
This is so jank! Last time was bunny training, and now even more bunny. Wait, what? Wait, why did I die?
Why did you die?
You're the one that got hit! I think we should probably skip gate this.
Yeah,
this is
probably.
way too janky. This is not working at all. We keep our ability to buster keeps vanishing, and then what even is going? How did I die when you got hit? What is even happening? There's a lot of people here.
You know, this level might not have been so difficult if its main gimmick weren't so painfully unreliable. You can quick slide to cancel the gimmick, but I didn't realize. Did I realize that before I got stuck as helpless Dada? No. Oh, it was slide. It wasn't weapon switch.
The freaking bell.
One token here is very frustrating to get. It involves precise platforming with a finicky gimmick.
Luna, for fuck's sake.
And it just had to be a Rabbiton too. I'm allergic to those. I'm itching more than ever now. Ah! Beware, this level's gimmick is prone to glitchy, abnormal behavior. Certain weapons can break it further. Warning, warning, defeating this level's boss during certain attacks can cause a soft lock.
Oh no!
This level has an especially obscure Easter egg if you input a code at a certain point in the level. But the level never specifies where you have to use it. Perhaps there's an upgrade that can fix that? But that Easter egg's completely optional anyway. You won't miss anything important. What? Oh.
Oh, thank you.
You faked me
Alright.
out.
Read reviews while I let Miss Dingus 2.0
Alright,
out.
you get the dingus, I will
Yes,
get the
look at all the
water.
stuff on the floor. All the stuffing from your bed that is scattered everywhere. Come on.
Dingy,
You
dingy.
need out or what? You keep eating. Get your booty out there. Get that curly butt out there. Ishka, what am I doing? I taught her to Ding to go outside. She is as bad as you used to be. Lucky. Mr. Coots. You going out too? Okay. Oh, he must have had something too. Alrighty.
Such a puppy. She is such a puppy. She's a puppy who is a puppy. Alright, let's see here. Pretty low on the fun department somehow. Well, this is definitely a unique concept. While the vast majority of these enemies are pretty dull normally, turning them into controllable vehicles rapidly changes the game. They remind me of X1 ride armors, but with a bit more charm, and some of the vehicles are great playables. I found myself enjoying the mess and the secret forms the most, although Shield Attacker was surprisingly useful.
Now you're gonna eat your food.
Dada and Atomic Chicken were also occasionally effective, although I found I only really use them for specific occasions. Unfortunately, the majority of the gimmick isn't fun. The enemies that have good mobility have no combat function, which makes them nearly useless outside of specific scenarios. The answer's combat functions are either unwieldy or they just can't move outright. Yeah, the good exception is the Met, being the only one that has both okay movement and decent combat that isn't a secret form. But the worst one, special mention goes to the rabbits. These things move around like a 5-year-old on an apocalyptic sugar high and are a pain to control. Getting that heart token was one of the single most frustrating experiences in this contest. And I'm not touching any of the rabbit shortcuts after I got trapped in one and had to deal with sound spam. If you decide to ignore the gimmick, the level by itself is really boring. Either way, someone loses out. The boss isn't that different. Identity Man has a neat concept and he's picked an interesting selection of bosses to emulate. And honestly, the first half of this fight is some of the most non-net fun I've had here.
There we go.
Unfortunately, when he gets desperate, the speed boost makes a lot of his attacks infuriating. There's at least one attack combination that's borderline undodgeable, which is really not a good thing. He starts out good and ends sour, not unlike this level. They can soft lock you with the hard-man attack is also a severe issue. One other thing, I found a secret boss. Not sure how anyone would find that beyond random flailing, and there's an upgrade that'll reveal the secret, but he's there. He's a better fight than Identity Man, assuming his spawn animation doesn't automatically kill you.
Oh, wow.
Why do I get the feeling the stage is directed at me in some way? I'm sure it's probably a coincidence, but it's kind of hard not to draw some obvious parallels here. Putting that aside, however, I'm going to judge the stage based on its own merits. In those regards, it's not very good, sadly. The biggest issue here lies in the main gimmick, as it's very much a case of great idea but flawed execution. While controlling minor enemies is certainly interesting, it ends up being more of an inconvenience than anything. Their functionality really doesn't mesh well with most of the room layouts. Shield attackers, dadas, and crazy cannons are virtually useless, as most of the areas you find them in don't allow you to take advantage of how they control. The only ones I actually enjoyed using were the Metul, Atomic Chicken, and Apache Joe. The first actually has added mobility features like a double jump and a hover, while the second has its own section that makes good use of how it moves and jumps. As for Apache Joe, well, he seems to function as a breeze through the entire level option. Either way, I think it goes without saying that the stage really should have focused on giving the enemies more of a purpose, like with how the Metal and Atomic Chicken were handled. If you try to ignore the main gimmick, however, you'll find there's two problems. The first is that the overall stage design isn't that great on its own, having very standard enemy and platforming layouts at best. Secondly, you actually need to use some of the enemies to get the tokens. The first one isn't too much of a problem, but the other two are much more finicky. The second token forces you to navigate past a section ripped straight from Heatman stage while controlling the bomb throne. This isn't too hard once you realize this enemy has a high jump, but you can still easily die here if the Yoku block appears over you and cause you to clip through the floor. The third token is the worst of them, though. Making the blockade disappear by jumping on all the top platforms with the Rabbitron is not only annoying due to how awful that enemy controls, but also rather obtuse. Considering the wall looks no different than the one you can blow up with the bomb throne, I was under the assumption that you need to take one from a previous section to use here. I know, Cooters.
That's me.
Oh,
there, that's
Misha.
Luna.
Luna!
Luna's bothering Lakota.
Thankfully... Luna! Thankfully that's not the case, but it's still some pretty bad conveyance on the level's part. Finally, there's the boss, who unfortunately has the same basic problems as the rest of the stage. Good idea, bad execution. Some of his attacks, particularly the Hardman Stomp, can lead to some pretty nasty setups that are incredibly tough to avoid. This won't be too much of an issue, it worked for his high damage output. If that one issue was fixed, I could see this being a relatively decent fight. Incidentally, the hidden boss wasn't that much better. For one, the way you even access this fight is incredibly obscure. After being Identity Man, push up, down, left, and right. While he has a much easier pattern to follow than the main boss, his damage output is still very high. Other than that, he's a rather standard boss with one of the most unexpected defeat animations I've seen in a while. All things considered, this was pretty disappointing. The concept itself is really good, and I think it's poised for being reworked into something amazing that could 100% outclass Identity Crisis. Just needs more polish to get there.
Oh my god, Luna was being... She was nosing my arm when I turned to look at her, she'd look away, and then come and nose my arm again when I look back at her. Like a kid, what the heck?
No Crisis, we have Man instead. While it's quite impressive that you've implemented a playable form for all the enemies in the stage, I can't say the same for the stage itself. Playing as the enemies has proven a hindrance throughout, due to clunky movements for all of them, and the fact that you still get hit with contact damage. Meaning dashing through as a shield attacker or Rabbiton generally causes much more harm than to play it through safe as Mega Man. The stage should have really been designed with playing as the enemies in mind. Instead, for some reason, we get snippets taken from existing Mega Man stages stitched together. For instance, the level where players are to navigate various puzzles using certain enemies' behavior. Just like how the token challenges are in place right now.
What? Bah?
Thirsty.
Oh.
I do dig the aesthetics, simple recoloring job of existing tile sets. But the colors chosen make them match together pretty seamlessly. As for Identity Man himself, I like the concept of him borrowing other Robot Master's movement and attack methods separately. Sadly, the fight quickly devolves into chaos as soon as he reaches half health, as he immediately reacts after an action is performed. With very little reaction time allowed for the players, as they also have to focus on the top of the screen for the Robot Master displays to anticipate his already ongoing attacks. Following the success of MaGMML2's Identity Crisis, you'd think a level like this would be a shoo-in for the top tier. Unfortunately, a clever premise can only go as far as the execution allows. Yes, it's incredibly fun to transform into enemies, but their level design doesn't play to their strengths. Dada needs room to bounce around. Shotman almost never has anything to shoot. Shield Attacker is merely a taxi through empty hallways. Secret or not, Apache Joe demolishes any sense of difficulty. Rabbiton, whose controls are frustratingly uncooperative, makes an already unreasonable token puzzle into one of the most excruciating experiences of this contest. I could go on. This disconnect between abilities and design throws off everything. Learning curve, challenge progression, even deciding which transformations, if any, are worth trying. I wish the level had pulled more inspiration from the vehicle and transformation challenges of the X and ZX series and less inspiration from Heatman. Technical polish leaves a lot to be desired as well. Among the most glaring problems are inconsistent and poorly communicated collision damage while transformed, Sakugane bouncing off invisible enemy respawn locations, and discrepancies between enemy behavior and transformation abilities, especially with the Met. The secret teleporters are bewildering, and one permanently locked me out of using weapons. It's never explained that Quick Slide cancels a transformation. Identity Man himself needs a small grace period between transforming and attacking. Players aren't given enough time to adapt, which spoils an otherwise fabulous fight. Also, upstaging a downed boss with another from left field doesn't feel right. I urge you to re-examine your planning and playtesting process, because this level could have been awesome. Aesthetics are a strength. The music works, the different tile sets fit pretty naturally together. The outdoor areas are luscious, and the parallax is a nice touch. Goofing around with the transformations is a heap of giggles, and the level plays fine without transforming. Back when Loyana was playing for me as a proxy, he suggested a comic. I think too much effort has been put in for this for me to do that, but... Also, issues are fairly apparent, so novel time, here we go. This level's a really neat idea. Level design around it is often horrendous. Lots of unavoidable damage results when using a gimmick, and either the enemies make the areas a non-issue, or they are so annoying to use it's often best to stick to the basics. It's all very glitchy and feels like a work-in-progress tech demo. Hey, guess how bad the teaching elements in this stage are. Woo woo! Is that so, Luna? Again, with me sitting next to him taking notes, it took way too long to figure out how to get a handle on how the meta all works.
What? You are not getting my Twizzlers! Stop it, dog. Why are you obsessed with Twizzlers?
You could argue that knowledge of the enemies would help in teaching, but the fact that Metal can double jump was particularly cryptic since not exactly a enemy type known to do that. I think some of the enemy sections are just very, very bad for the gimmick in question. Some enemies felt unplayable, such as Atomic Chicken. To one-hit joke wonders. Shield Attacker is amusing the first time, not so much on future attempts. It's sometimes just unpleasant to use. Bomb Thrown is so slow. And the less said about the rabbit from Mega Man 8, the better. Oh boy. Sticking to the theme of confusion and poor teaching, the second and third token use identical graphics for different blocking mechanisms, and actually led to a really long time just spent trying to get that third token here. The first time, use the bomb throw. That's fairly obvious. If you played Mega Man 2, that style of block can be destroyed with explosives. Simple. So naturally, the third token, blocked by that very same block graphic, also requires bomb thrown, right? Oh no. Yes, it's
the name
very...
bomb thrown hurts my brain. It's like, that's not how you spell that, but no, that is how you spell that. No,
Sephiroth.
Yes.
Yes, it's barely possible to get bomb thrown here, and that is incredibly frustrating and took several attempts. Well, specifically it took Loyana several attempts, so what were we to think? Yes, with me sitting next to him, we both came to that solution, because actual solution for his puzzle is moon logic. The rat has to jump on all the spinny things, and all the spinny things need to be jumped on to destroy the block? What? This is not helped by just how horrendous this thing is to control. God, that made an already irritating level just reach new heights. Identity Man himself fits the stage like a glove. Good idea? Really annoying execution. The fight is pure RNG nonsense, effectively making it a damage race as it can use some unavoidable attacks of bad luck, and heaven help you if you kill it while it's using its hard man slam, resulting in a soft block bad. Post-judging comment. Oh, hey, a secret boss that couldn't be factored into the review because it's super cryptic and basically impossible to find without knowing about it. Wow, I hate that. I really hate that level of disrespect on both the judges and players. There's nothing in the stage that mentions or even hints at this. Don't ever do this. If I could retroactively change the scores, I would, but I think given the skip vote and low placement, might not be necessary.
Oh no. Oh.
Iceman! This lab has a truly in all, one of the most inspiring places I've ever been to! I'm not at all biased with this assessment, and if you think so, I'm completely unsure how you came to such a conclusion.
Assault Hunt! That is a lot of token. Well, we're gonna be able to buy... Uh-oh. Why is it that color? Uh-oh.
What does skip T mean?
I don't know. Why is there a stage score and section score? What is going on? What is this? What is this music?
I don't know. No weapons allowed, apparently.
Because of course not.
No utilities either.
Oh, what is this?
I don't know.
Oh no, we are not reading all this.
Nope.
Wow. Oh my god! We have run into a novel. What? What? Oh, those are backgrounds. Hey, I used this music in a Megazix game before.
Oh, and now we're using Ice Wall. Okay.
Okay. I guess we are. What? Oh!
This has to be a reference to some Genesis game or something.
I don't know. Oh, we have to get a certain score probably to
Get the token.
Oh, that's gonna suck. That's why there's a skip. Ah! Well, I was gonna try to get our multiplier up in there, but... Wah!
I dig the voice clips. Ooh. Rank D.
What?
Oh, we get get awarded with a different amount of tokens depending on our final score.
Yeah. Thunderbeam. Oh! What?
It's a shoot 'em up stage.
Yes, it is. But why did I just get dropped off into
I have
nothing?
no idea.
I don't think this works for multiplayer. Uh-oh. Well, there goes the multiplier. This...
I can't hit anything.
What even is this? This shoot 'em up stage is freaking terrible! Can you use, like, the Hunter Beam?
No. It's Elect Beam or nothing. And Elect Beam doesn't one-shot anything, so, like, what's the point? Gah. Danger!
Obviously, oh! We have to get through this all in one go. That is awful.
That was a lag fest.
I see the token up here for some reason. Oh, these things are so hard to hit. Oh, come on! This is awful! Whoa! What? Well, at least there's something, and the multiplayer keeps dropping. I mean,
Oops. Dang it.
Wait, why did that one shoot? The one that was dead shot. I don't think that's supposed to happen there, dude.
Anyway, we can farm points here.
Yes, we can. What? This is probably the easiest way to get this this stage finished here. Maybe.
Assuming we don't die.
Oh, they ran out?
I guess it. Nope! What the heck?
What just happened? Baguette up. Mama,
Rank B.
Uh-oh. Oh!
That Yashichi is probably worth a lot. Yeah, I'm not getting that.
Hi!
Didn't see that coming.
It is worth death, I guess. Well, we're not farming points off that one. Oh, we can climb that. But we can't get... Huh? Okay. I guess we're using Break Dash from now on. Oh, it's hard to tell the background elements from the things we can stand on. Can I climb up?
Apparently not. Go down. And don't get sniped to death.
Hey! Thunder Beam. Thunder Beam.
Thunder!
I guess if we kept, like, ice in this whole thing, maybe, but... Is this supposed to be, like, Metal Slug or something? What is this even supposed to be? I guess they're done. Oh.
I guess we need Ice Wall. That's okay, all the tokens are in the lobby. Mega Tank up that way.
We're only rank B so far. Did he say mechanic shockwave?
That sure sounds like what he said.
Beams! Fell on me! Stage is like super hectic here. There's just like little bits of like sprites falling from the ceiling sometimes. LT. Okay. How long is this stage anyways? Jeez.
Hey, Rank. Just a little bit more. You're not Commando Man.
Hi?
Okay. Oh, we got four of them. Highest rank must be S.
That is kind of BS. Like, how are we? Did we just need to sit there for like 20 minutes killing the stupid dudes? Because that's a terrible thing to do.
Alright, let's skip the star token.
Yeah, that's awful.
It's Blade Man. Tries the Bisa.
I have no idea who that is.
It's a Mr. T.
Huh?
Scratch. Oh, hey there. This level isn't actually skippable, but its tokens are. That level locks them behind a score gimmick, and the thresholds to earn them are very, very high. Unreasonably high, even. One of the judges couldn't even unlock the last one, so we've duplicated the tokens and put them here for you. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to use this girder to scrape some of the fleas and mites off my back. Why don't they come off? Why don't they come off? Ah!
Oh no. We have to play through the whole level again. Or can we just exit out,
We
maybe?
can probably just exit out.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, good. Ugh.
Assault, 10% time penalty. Oh no, Flashman gave it a 1 for works.
Functionality, yeah.
I didn't expect that first song to be so soothing. Definitely one of my future picks for relaxation music. An interesting setup in general for an intro, though I somewhat question the necessity of it. As for the actual level, there's a right way and a wrong way to do combat levels, and this is a little bit of both. The concept is nice and it's fun to rack up my score, but the implementation can fall a bit flat. This isn't the fault of the enemy types, they're excellent options for the concept, though sometimes the swarm's gonna come out right cluster fuzzy. Rather, it's a strict multiplier that creates issues. If you die for any reason, whatever you racked up is gone. It also doesn't freeze going through screen transitions or when the enemy stops spawning. The jet section is easily the worst for this. Even without the multipliers, either nothing is happening or the screen's an absolute mess. It's not fun either way. Now, if you're going for just the energy element, this isn't terrible. It takes practice to get used to the sword as well as from strategic weapon selection, but the level is manageable. One of the things that helps is not everyone is a Sorn. People need breaks to do something else, and there's definitely enough platforming to revive that. I wish the snipers couldn't shoot me from off-screen. Please respect boundaries. That said, if you want all 5 tokens, the sheer amount of grinding required for S rank is infuriating. You basically have to be perfect, and or you have to squeeze nearly every last screen dry. I've seen worse optionals, yes, but this isn't fun regardless. The other core issue is with the boss fights. Not for concepts, the Elite Joes have fair patterns and interesting arenas, and Assault Man is incredibly fair, despite how much ground it covers.
Unless he gets stuck in the wall, apparently. But...
However, these feel like they're only barely holding together, particularly Assault Man. I'm pretty sure he's not supposed to sail through the air while he's firing machine gun bullets every which way. And his aim is so bad I have to try to get hit by that attack. I also see him get shunted out of the terrain more than usual, which makes me very glad he's not been shunted out of the room yet. These are fun fights, but their apparent instability has me worried. Oh lord, this is one hectic stage. And to be fair, I at least understand why. It's clearly based on Metal Slug, and flooding the screen with enemies and bullets is commonplace for run-and-gun games like that, but I don't think this was translated very well here in the context of Mega Man's usual gameplay. There's so much chaos during certain sections it can be a little hard to tell what's happening. I guess in a way some of the more simplistic looking graphics here help with that. Given you don't want anything too distracting with so many bullets flying around, but don't excuse them, or to highly compressed JPEG backgrounds. Regardless, you're still going to be taking a lot of hits here once the enemies start spawning more frequently. The stage being very glitchy and unstable also doesn't help matters. For further reference, here's a list of the technical issues I ran into during my time with it. The meter for score multiplied bonus sometimes goes down after killing an enemy, but most of the time it doesn't. At least I assume that the meter going down is how it's supposed to work. It's a little hard to tell due to how consistent it is. I thought it was supposed to go down after you got hit. Dying to the mini-boss of the Rush Jet segment straight up crashed the game on me. The last mini-boss has serious sprite alignment issues while zipping around. The end boss often got stuck in a wall, thus either neutering the fight completely or prematurely ending it as he zipped off screen and died. Even if you do manage to cope with these bugs and get through the enemy spam, however, the one thing you can't brute force your way around are the tokens. While I get what you were going for, I think the points needed to get each one should have been more lenient. I had to sit in one part of the stage and grind for points just to get the final rank needed for all the tokens. And I need to divert my attention away from the larger points of interest in the level just to ensure I get everything it has to offer. Something has definitely gone wrong. Topping all this off with the end boss, Assault Man. As stated before, he's very glitchy, to the point where I can't even get a full fight with him before he phases into the wall. And when he actually does fight, there's far too much visual clutter to really figure out what's going on. He comes and goes without me really understanding anything about how this battle actually works, which can also be extended to most of the mini-bosses as well. If anything, I can commend the stage for trying to shake up the formula a bit without turning it into a completely different game. It's certainly a memorable level just for what it sets out to do, but it's just not that well executed. Rocket launcher! Interesting concept with how you can only equip one weapon at a time. This whole stage makes me think of arcade games. It's hectic and kinda fun. The scoring system, it's fine, just not my kind of appeal. Kinda iffy too to lock tokens behind that mechanic, but I suppose it does give you an incentive to replay the entry, try for different weapons, etc. Overall pretty chaotic and probably was by design, especially with the constant respawning Joes can get a little overwhelming sometimes. On top of having a score multiplier time really into the pressure. Breakdash is a trap because hitting the boss with it is pretty much impossible with his movement. It doesn't do much more than Thunder Beam, which is 10 times easier to use in this fight. Weird balancing going on here. It also seems like Assault Man visually gets stuck on walls a lot of times. It doesn't really affect the fight, but it looks really off-putting. I'm worried he's going to clip through out of bounds anytime soon, soft-locking the battle. Initially, I liked this. I was wrapped up in the lore, music, unconventional mechanics, and fast-paced gameplay. I had some reservation about the graphics pertaining to polish and color blindness, but I appreciate the little touches. The Wily logo on the spikes, for example, and the Jet Mini-Boss's danger warning when it didn't freeze and persist onto the next screen. I was tickled by the weapon announcements. I forgave the constant enemy spam because the challenge arcs felt deliberate and the checkpoints and items were where I needed them. Good old frantic fun. I normally despise ranking systems, but it wasn't until I tried getting all the tokens that I started to despise this one. I had only an inference that a higher score would open all the token barriers. Replaying the intro section, which is great for building atmosphere the first time around, becomes a slog after the umpteenth failed attempt at the 100% completion. The more I replayed, the more problems I noticed. At least 3 different enemies can crash the game due to programming oversights. The multiplier meter depletes even while paused, and it seems to stop depleting whenever it feels like it. Enemies clip through floors, stick on walls, and have weirdly inconsistent damage collision. Rifleman Joes sometimes spawn on the wrong screen. Screen transitions with ladders and slopes are messy. Moving platform tracks aren't labeled consistently. New weapons are only occasionally useful where you pick them up. Weapon pickups don't respawn after dying, and Bizarre, Rush Jet, and Magnum Beam are additions rather than replacements like the other pickups. An ambitious level with entirely new enemies and major gameplay twists can be incredibly successful as long as it's been playtested to perfection. In the process of trying to achieve the 6.4 million points required to unlock the final token, and never exceeding 5.7 million, which makes this the only level in the entire game contest that I couldn't 100%. I've determined that your playtesting process is sabotaging your own potential as a level designer. This level's fine. It's a romp, got some key additions, but nothing really done with it. Pure enemy level. It did take the obvious route that none of the Contra or Metal Slug inspired stages in MaGMML3 did, and fully embraced that. The music sounds vaguely Metal Slug, but 90k if it is. It's not one of the more memorable tracks, of which the series has many. Instead, feeling more of the equivalent BGM filler. Hey, turns out it's from the Game Boy Advance Metal Slug. However, the vocal cues when selecting weapons are just as cheesy as I'd want them to be. Shame the contest rules exclude the possibility of collecting a rocket lawn chair. I do honestly like the weapon aspect of this stage. Purely optional, with some of the strongest being locked off by requiring a weaker weapon to get them. It's cute. The graphics are consistent. They have an amateurish quality, but when the entire stage is filled with it, it looks better than the sum of individual pieces. My main suggestion is to make more use of contrasts. Everything blends in a bit together, especially the terrain. There's a variety of Joes here, but none really stand out, just the occasional mini-boss. If it was going to go with Meta Slug and Contra route, embracing the flashy nature of this series rather than the more generic aspects would have helped this greatly. The flight segment also seemed very undercooked. The mini-boss is alright there, but nothing too memorable. What really bugs me about this stage is the sheer lack of polish. I sometimes get scared I'm going to get shunted into a floor somewhere, or worse, a boss. My heart skipped a beat when Assault Man clipped into a wall as he jumped towards it. Flashbacks of the Yggdrasil bosses soft-locking a game filled with
Yes!
Other areas include screen transitions that let me clip into terrain, being able to just miss jumping on the rush in the flight segment, enemies falling through walls since they spawn in wrong, or their hitboxes allowing them to clip through walls since they're set up wrong. Ultimately, the stage is passable. The score system just isn't even fun here, and for what I can tell, the requirements for the later tokens are absurd. I'm not bothering with getting all the tokens here. I don't feel like grinding. I get the point, and it's not fun. We're not going to make the players grind either. It's not really a challenge, is it? Just a grind.
Yeah, I agree there. Cold man.
This is ridiculous. I've been hoodwinked. I thought they requested my presence for my ice expertise, but no! Just wanted to use me as a refrigerator for their food. I feel betrayed.
Jeez, where's the boss? Seems like he's taking a nap inside an ice crystal. Boy, I'm sure glad he's in there and I'm out here.
And we's out there and we're in there and he's the sheriff and we're out here and what I want to know is where's the caveman?
YMCA? What?
YMCA.
Okay, so we to the boss. We have one more level and a boss.
Okay.
Do we want to save that for next time or what?
Yes.
Okay. No
that
more
has
Dr.
to be a
Wigo.
Misadventures of Skooks reference.
No more Dr. Wigo tonight, yes.
Yeah. That was a good selection of levels.
Mega Man, we would stop Dr. Wigo, and why we said we stop Dr. Wigo.
Anyway, yeah, good times. So, yeah, tomorrow,
theme was glitchy mess levels.
I guess, yes.
Yeah, wow.
Tomorrow, assuming there aren't any more votes on the poll, I am going to be starting Xenoblade Chronicles, apparently.
Alrighty. Do that yoinky splanky. You've never seen that meme before?
No, I haven't.
That's like a famous Xenoblade meme. It's really silly, yes. Right, do that, yoinky splanky. Oh yeah, rhyme time, baby. That's why I only see them say rhyme time, baby, in any of the streams of Xenoblade, like speedruns. It's because the yoinky splanky meme.
I see. I thought it was because of Chugga Conroy.
I mean, rhyme time, baby. It might have come from him to begin with. This thing was like yoinky splanky existed. The one
No, the Yonky Sploinky isn't from one of his videos.
The one I linked was a remaster of it because the original like vanished for some reason. So the original was like, we're talking like came out when the original game came out. It was so.
Good times.
I mean, don't forget me was something very recent.
That's great.
You're done. I guess what was it, Mithra or something in the Smash Bros. Game actually has taunts that reference that dude.
That's amazing.
Don't forget me. You're done. It's like, oh man.
Think you can take me?
Yes, she says that.
Alright, well, yeah, gonna be a good time tomorrow. See you guys!
Alrighty. See you later. I should be back Monday, or if stuff is dead tomorrow, then maybe I'll be around to do my own little Mega Man stuff early before he
Good
streams, but we'll
times.
see.
Bye.
Alrighty.